come from the bowels of hell.
The Dana Gould Hour.
Jungle worms and swamp rats run around your feet.
I fought a dog that killed the calf that ate the canary. What is truth?
And once again, welcome back.
Welcome back to the, I guess, pre-spring episode of the Dana Gould Hour podcast. We have a wonderful show in store for you. My very good friend, Susan Arosteguy, is here. Susan is one of the producers of the Criterion Collection, and she is here to take us behind the scenes at the Criterion Collection, as well as talk about some of the special editions that she is working on. If you don't know what the Criterion Collection is, oh my God, did you come to the right podcast. Now, I don't know if you're a collector of Blu-rays or if you subscribe to the Criterion channel, which I highly recommend, but Criterion continues to curate an amazing library of rare and classic films. And a movie does not have to be 100 years old to be a classic, as evidenced by Susan's filmography there. Criterion also has saved a lot of movies from oblivion and helped get them in front of new audiences. Truly the Lord's work, if the Lord was a movie nerd. Also, if you're a fan of Hanging with Dr. Z, Rusty, Steel and Claudine are here. Or as they are known in real life, Paul Greenberg and his beautiful wife, Jackie Harris Greenberg. They are here to talk about not only Hanging with Dr. Z, but their wide-ranging careers and brushes with showbiz greatness. I kid you not. Lastly, True Tales from Weirdsville takes a deep dive into the little movie that could, but then really kinda didn't, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Lastly, before we go, I would be remiss if I did not thank all of our Patreon subscribers, all you Sky Cadets out there. And if you're not a Patreon subscriber, please know that the Patreon is how we make the show. We don't have ads. The good news is you don't have to listen to me pretend to be excited about razor blades or stamps. But the bad news is I still have to pay everyone who works on the show, and the Patreon makes that possible. $5 a month is all I ask, breaking even is my goal, and that makes you a Dana Gould Hour Sky Cadet. It's our only level, and for that, you get some extra junk, a little bit of extra audio, a little bit of extra video, what have you. Give it a shot. Go to danagould.com and sign up. We appreciate it, we really do. And finally, if you enjoy the podcast, you'll probably also enjoy Hanging with Dr. Z. It's on YouTube. Check it out. Hanging with Dr. Z. If you don't know already, find out what all the cool kids are talking about. And now, it's on to our filthy business.
Tune in, it's a gas. It's the Dana Gould Hour podcast.
The Dana Gould Hour. Free and worth it.
It's a beautiful sunny day here high atop the Mulholland Drive view shelf here in sunny Southern California. We're at Falcons Lair Recording Studios, and through the miracle of Zoom technology, we're talking to a very good friend of mine who lives all the way on the other side of the continent. Help me pronounce your last name correctly.
Sure.
Arosteguy?
Close. Arosteguy.
Arosteguy. See, all right, your name is Susan Arosteguy.
Yes.
My impulse would be that would be the Americanized way to pronounce your name.
Arosteguy is.
Really?
Really.
So it's
Arosteguy.
Arosteguy. Okay.
Correct.
See, to me, and I don't want to tell you how to pronounce your own name, but I think I know more about it than you do.
You might.
Just because I'm a dude.
Yes. Mansplain this to me.
Please, let me mansplain your name to you. Susan? Susan? Can I mansplain your name to you, please?
Susan, correct.
Susan Arosteguy, who people say Los Feliz, and people, well, it's actually Los Feliz.
Oh,
but
boy.
there is something. Yeah, there's some, at a certain point you just go, yeah, I know,
You're
but
correct.
it's Los Feliz.
Yeah.
It's also Los Angeles, but I'm not going to do it.
I wish you would start doing that, though.
We call it I Carumbaville. Anyway, Susan, I don't know what your official title is, but you work for the Criterion Collection, which is one of those things that's so good, I'm alarmed it's still going.
Fair enough.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
hasn't
Me
it?
too.
Hasn't it been replaced with an online tattoo vaping consortium yet?
Close, yeah. No, I mean, this is personally, I'm a producer at the Criterion Collection, and this is going into my 28th year of working there.
So you're there from how old is the company?
The company started in 1984,
Right.
and I started in 1994.
Right. Okay. So you do the math.
That was in the golden age of Laserdisc.
Oh,
So
sure. I recall.
When I started, we were producing giant Laserdisc special editions that cost upwards of $125.
Sure. I owned several.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know, I knew the guy, and I'm assuming you knew the guy too. You talk about like antiquated technology. I
My
knew
favorite.
I knew a guy that was so into laser discs. He literally just had a room, like a library,
Oof.
and a
Yeah.
list, and a printed out alphabetical list of all
Sure.
of his films and laser. And then I remember the laser disc machine that would automatically flip it, because it was so much more convenient, instead of just opening it and flipping it, to sit there for 25 minutes while the machine went.
It wasn't a quick and satisfying thing. And also, those cost like $1,000.
And they were massive. It was
They were massive. And none of them work now. Not one.
No, boy, Laserdisc more than that's a technology that that you almost forgot. It came and went with the tide. It was like that
sure.
was the Sony Discman also.
Yes.
I remember.
I feel like those probably work, for some reason.
I remember being on a plane with my yellow Sony Discman Sports, putting in my brand new CD of the Pixies Bossa Nova, feeling like I was Flash fucking Gordon.
That's right.
It's
Sure.
never gonna get more modern than what I'm doing right now as I fly on Braniff to.
Well, I will tell you, there was a good reason that Criterion started on Laserdisc. And the whole idea, if I could just go into a little bit of background.
This is neither the time nor the place.
I've got to go. The Criterion invented the extra stuff you see with a movie when you buy it on Blu-ray and DVD. That was our invention.
Really?
And one of our founders, Bob Stein, was a pretty big tech guru back in the 80s. And he, in turn, with some other people, figured out with the Laserdisc technology that you could have more than one audio track. So instead of, just the audio track that you got on your VHS tape, it had 4 audio tracks. So there's 2 digital and 2 analog. So you could have your film soundtrack, digital 1, digital 2,
Right.
and then analog 1 and 2, you could, say, record somebody talking about the movie and put it on that track.
What? I had no idea.
Yes.
And now,
so there you go.
But that was a thing, and this is what's great about Criterion specifically. Like the DVD, as it became known when the technology, like when we finally stopped at DVD, and now it's now the national standard. The DVD audio tracks were, one, from a business point of view, a reason to buy a movie you already owned.
Yep.
And also addictive, instant film school.
Yep.
Thoroughly entertaining. I think I lost you there. You're
Oops, are you
frozen.
still there?
It's the
It
government.
seems stable now. Okay.
It's the government.
It might be. Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. Thanks, Fauci. It's Fauci. Fauci. People who hate Dr. Fauci, it's the most misplaced point of aggression.
I know. I hate a scientist.
Yeah.
Oh, what a jerk. Helping us? Asshole.
George Meyer, the quite brilliant Simpsons writer, used to have this long monologue. I pity people that never got to see it firsthand about the movie Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, God.
And how he goes like, football players didn't even know nerds existed. They didn't, they weren't like up at nerds.
Yeah, they weren't even on their radar.
Yeah, no.
Fist shaking.
They weren't aware of it. But also, but now that we get into streaming, that everybody streams everything, you don't have that option anymore. Like
you can watch it just by itself with the commentary, but you can't switch on the fly.
But if like saying, I'm thinking of a movie I just streamed, No Way Home, the Spider-Man movie, because which was great.
Yep.
But there's no option that I can see for an alternative audio track.
No, there isn't. The way the Criterion Channel, our streaming service, presents them is, here's Smithereens with the commentary. So you're only watching it with that. You can't go between the movie and the commentary.
Right. But most like, and that's like, to get that, you need the Criterion Channel, which is the smartest use of your money.
Oh, thank you.
But for regular Netflix, Apple, whatever, they don't even offer it.
No.
And it's like, no, this was a great thing. We shouldn't lose.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
I've seen it. I've seen it kind of buried in, like a big Apple production or something at the bottom of the screen. There'll be, extra stuff, interviews with the making of, like 5 minutes long or whatever. And I guess that's
it's 5 minutes. I love those long, and well, just since you brought it up, when you do the audio track of Smithereens,
I actually have to say there is no commentary on Smithereens. I don't even know why I said that.
But I was going to say, why don't you just get the Smithereens? We've never seen this movie before.
I thought about it. I'm sure that that's really funny. I should have. Damn it. All right. Got to go back and do it again.
And that doesn't even touch, but the additional, all the extras and I mean, I have like right on that shelf, like my top 20 DVDs that have so many, like,
so many.
Yeah. The Apocalypse Now Redux package, the one of my favorite movies with a ton of the what is it? How do they listen? I think it was you guys. Yeah, the Ed Wood. No, the touch of the hyper Ed Wood with all of the deleted scenes.
Oh, we didn't do that one, sadly.
No, it looks like it's touched on, but it's. I mean, there's so much great stuff.
Yeah, and it's a nice thing because that was a Criterion invention, and we were the ones doing it on Laserdisc through the 80s and 90s, and all of the studios just didn't see it as a moneymaker because Laserdiscs were bulky and expensive to make, and they just didn't want to have anything to do with it. So they licensed, Wizard of Oz, Citizen Kane, Hard Day's Night, all these major films, Casablanca, so those were all early days of Laserdisc. And once we got into DVD technology, they kind of started catching on a little bit, that they could do their own special editions, their own features. But still, we still have a great relationship with all these studios, through DVD, Blu-ray, streaming. It's an additional revenue stream for them sometimes if they release something already. Then we do it again with even more stuff on it. Pump it, somebody's going to buy it 3 times. We hope. We don't know.
Yeah.
But
what was it?
It's a nice opportunity.
I know specifically the Criterion King Kong.
Yep.
The audio track was interviews with, I think, Ernest Schoedsack, who wrote it, from like 20 years ago. Like he did some radio interview or something, and they put that on the track. I love when they create a dialogue track that wasn't intended as the source, but they
wasn't. I don't think that was Criterion, but funny you say that.
Are you sure it wasn't Criterion?
Yeah, King Kong was the first.
And it turns out, after all this, I never owned a Criterion product.
You are you? No, Ron Haver was a film professor who recorded the first commentary track ever, and that was to our King Kong. We never released it again. We only released it on Laserdisc. So there could be another additional archival interview on that. I haven't looked at it in a long time, so I don't know.
Yeah, there's one. Well, there's definitely
one. Fact check.
Yeah, no, there's definitely, because I remember it because the guy that wrote it counterdicted. I don't know what the word is, but whatever the word is, refuted everything a film professor told me about the movie.
That's hilarious. And that's it's a good place for that kind of discussion. It's like, let's just get the crazy person on here. When I did, when I did Island of Lost Souls, maybe I shouldn't be talking about this, but obviously
Which
that film.
I do own.
Yes, and you've seen the extras, and the range of people that I interviewed.
Yeah.
So we've got like
you found
Baker,
some actual lost souls.
I did. Mark Mothersbaugh, Jerry Casale from Devo, because obviously they were very influenced by that film. Richard Stanley, who had his own crazy relationship with. So that was a really cool one for me because it's just such an old movie, 80 years old, so influential in all these different aspects to all these different people. So it was a really cool project.
And also
just
beautiful,
to put all that together. Yeah.
And the cover art is like, you really go, Criterion goes the extra mile all the time. And
it's real fun. Yeah.
But it's also, it's so, I really mean this seriously. It's comforting that like, oh, somebody's still trying.
Well, we're lucky we can still try, and people are, still supporting us. I mean, that's more important than anything.
Yeah.
It's such a shock. I didn't think I'd be there, 28 years later, so it's really fucking fun. So.
No, and it's
great.
And you help people discover, like, I know people, like you did Border Radio.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people that didn't know about Border Radio, and then they came out on Criterion and they saw it. And,
what a great movie.
And now they're fans. It's like you, and again, I don't want to sound like Statler and Waldorf, but stuff that happened before you were born can still be interesting.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why it's cool to get a contemporary.
World War II. Person. I'm just going to pull something out of thin air.
It's pretty interesting. There's some experts on that out there.
Can still be
entertaining.
Can still be entertaining. World War II, very entertaining.
Especially if you colorize it.
Yes. See?
A whole new generation.
Yeah. But we watched, I remember after we watched Get Back, we watched Anthology again.
Okay.
And in Anthology, it's Paul and Ringo and George talking contemporaneously, and then they fit in old Lennon interviews.
Oh, cool.
From the 70s and 80s. So it almost sounds like, it was just like, oh, clever. I like how they.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, we've been very lucky to have, I couldn't even list all the people that we've been lucky enough to work with, from cinematographers to directors to actors to writers to scholars. Like, it's just endless. I know we were kind of taking a tally at the end of last year, and I think between the disc schedule and the channel schedule, we created 200 new pieces of content in a year. I mean, our disc schedule is 5 or 6 titles a month. I mean, the channel has thousands.
That's a huge output.
It's a huge output. Yeah. And the best thing is, the reason the channel is so great for us right now is because it's really labor intensive to work on these special edition discs. It takes 6 months.
Yeah.
From when you license it, you have to transfer it. You're working with a director. You're doing all the supplements, the package design, everything.
But
on the channel, on the channel, you can license it, clean it up, put it up. And there's a lot of really eclectic programming going on there. Things we would never in a million years have the time or be able to afford to put on disc.
Yeah, and if you have if you don't have the Criterion channel, get it. It's the way it's designed. There is never. I'll put it this way: since I got the Criterion channel, there's never nothing on.
Yeah.
You just go there and it's like, it's 2 or 3 clicks. You're like, oh my God.
I think the curation part of that really helps because it's just divided into, we call them swim lanes of.
That's great.
Here's women filmmakers, here's this kind of film, here's this adventures in movie going, Right. It's really easy to find things. Like I find on Netflix sometimes I don't know where to look for movies. Yeah. And then I just end up watching a series.
Yeah.
And do they have movies?
And it's also, they curate to you in a very unimaginative way.
Oh yeah. I mean, how many, dark, moody British crime thrillers series can I watch?
Yeah. Well,
I've seen them all.
It's so funny because I like watch you, like I'll watch the most obscure thing I can find. Like, if it doesn't have, Bill Nye or Michael Gambon on it, I don't watch it. But then my daughter is like super into the MCU now.
Okay.
So it's like now my curation is all like,
wow,
the
that's all over the place.
Yeah, Doctor Strange and a murder in Reykjavik. It's like it doesn't know what's happening.
I like that combination. It's a good double feature.
The best double feature was I remember in the movie. What was the movie with Kevin Bacon? where he played a director, an aspiring director, and he went to a double feature, and it was Tess of the Dubervilles and Hardly Working. Was
Wow.
the big picture? The big picture was that.
Oh, right. My God, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah,
Holy moly. Wow.
Yeah, see, there
big
you
picture.
go. Get on it.
Shit. We have to program that. Well, I do have to say that, Dana, you have been a guest star on a couple of our releases. So
Yep.
fair is fair. You know, I first met you when we
which
did...
will prove you'll hire anybody.
That's right. Full disclosure, everyone.
Yeah.
We first met you when we did Carnival of Souls, which is one of my all-time
Was that
favorite
when we
films.
first? Was that? Yeah, me too. Was that when we first met?
Yep.
Oh, funny.
Yep. And
Because you're one of those people that I just assume I've always known.
Totally. Well, my colleague Kate, my friend and colleague Kate, who's also a producer, said, I think that you should try Dana Gould for this because he likes these kind of horror movies. I'm like, that's a great idea. Remember we had that great weird day at the Museum of Jurassic Technology?
Was great. Yeah.
In that room of Soviet space dog oil paintings?
Yes. But what's also great about that is I will get texts or emails from people, now, like 2 months ago, I got one like, I'm sitting at home watching Carnival of Souls and then, why are you on my television screen?
I didn't think this was going to happen.
It's unavoidable. Apropos of nothing, my high school girlfriend on her honeymoon, they got into the hotel, turned on and they were in like Hawaii or someplace. Okay. They got in the hotel room, turned on the TV, and it was me.
Oh God!
Like, I'm very sorry.
Sorry,
change the channel. There's a lot of channels.
We're in the hotel where it's only Dana Gould closed circuit television.
Yeah, my apology. Who decide? Like, okay, let's talk about Carnival of Souls, which I've talked about here on the podcast.
Sure.
And we both love it. Who decides? Like, what is the process of like? All right, we want to do Carnival of Souls. The first thing you do
depends.
You call Herc Harvey at home.
You call Herc Harvey at home. I mean, it depends on so many factors. We have a whole curatorial board now and a curatorial director, which is new in the last 5 years or so. So there's just, the process has become so much more complex.
Yep.
But in those early days, it was like, we had our foot in the door with a lot of studios. We were picking out contemporary, important classic films. It was just like pick of the litter, cult films and foreign films. And obviously, our sister company is Janus Films. So we, they're the U.S. distributor for a lot of the classic foreign films that came out in the 50s and 60s and 70s. So we had Seven Samurai, all the Bergman films. So we really had foreign films covered.
Right.
The Carnival of Souls.
For those interested, Janus.
Yes.
If you want to look
Not Janice with an I.
Not Janice, my sister. Not Janice, my sister.
Not Janice, Dana's sister.
Or Janice Soprano. Or Janice Soprano, and they're frighteningly similar.
Wow. So I think Carnival of Souls was something that I pushed for, most likely, because I think around that time it came out originally, it had a kind of sketchy re-release.
Yep.
And it was in the public domain, and it was super confusing. Mm-hmm. And then Herc and John Clifford were still alive at that time. So
it had a lot of juice in the early 90s.
It did. So I think it was around there. Yeah.
Well, because it was at the height of Twin Peaks.
Yep.
Lynch, in an interview, said that it was a huge influence.
Oh, that must be it.
So it became
I'm sure that's why I liked it.
There was a brief period of time when that kind of school of weirdness was what was cool. Like when everything that was cool was summed up in 2 words, Chris Isaac.
Well, isn't that still the case? Let's be honest. Because he is just a wonder.
He is. He's a very funny dude.
I love that Showtime show he had. It was so good.
Super great, super funny. Probably surfing right now. But there was that level, and he was like Carnival. So everybody,
I think you're right.
Get a big release, and it is a David Lynch movie before David Lynch was making movies. It's
I have a good tidbit for you. So John Clifford,
I have one for you. So
okay. So John Clifford, who was the screenwriter on Carnival of Souls, he got his start writing lyrics and music in the Brill Building in New York City. And he wrote a few songs on Etta James' At Last album, which is crazy. the same time, Angelo Badalamenti was working there and doing, and they collaborated. So there's a David Lynch connection with Carnival of Souls. Isn't that nuts?
Here's another David Lynch connection. Very strange. Mel Brooks had an assistant, secretary in New York named Betty.
Okay.
Who actually wrote the producers. He told her what to write and she typed it. She was his secretary for years. Her roommate was Candice Hilligoss. And the reason I know that, and it was one of and then Mel produced The Elephant Man.
Right.
It was David Lynch's first big movie. The reason I know it is when I was working with Mr. Brooks, I was talking about Carnival. We were just shooting the shit, and I was, talking about The Elephant Man, and I was talking about how much I love. And it's just so funny when you talk to people that are like, talking to Mel is like talking to the Lincoln Memorial. If it like got an hour to chat, it's like,
God,
like Grant. Let me tell you about Grant. Yeah, let me tell you about Grant.
Yeah, lucky you. That's awesome.
And I worked with him for a year. And
that's right. You told me that. I've forgotten.
But he would say stuff. I was like, Carnival of Souls. He goes, yeah, Carnival of Souls. I think Betty's roommate was in that. Pretty girl, blonde girl, pretty girl. I was like, Candice Hilligoss. Yeah, that was it. She was a roommate. She's a nice girl. But it's just like, it's so weird.
That is so great. What a great story. Wow.
It's insane. Yeah, but I like the way they talk about like pretty girl, and it is just, and eventually, I guess you become that person. It's like I walked in the house the other day, and my fiance.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Was watching Reality Bites.
Oh God.
And I was like, oh yeah, that was that girl was dating Ben's assistant, and I'm actually standing behind that wall. It's like,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it
because you've just been around. If you're around,
yeah.
And it's just one of those things. And Mel. I mean, Mel is we were talking about high anxiety, which I think is underrated.
That's one of my favorites. I have to say that one cracks me up so much.
But this is what you get. Like you only get from Mel Brooks. He goes, it's funny. You know what Hitchcock told me about that movie?
Of course.
Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess you.
Oh yeah, that lines up
because it was 76.
Yeah,
you were both on the lot. He was making high anxiety. You were making high anxiety. He was making family plot. You were both working at the same time.
Totally.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I guess you did know him. And for the record, what Mr. Hitchcock liked was that in the bird poop scene, Mel took the time to set up every bird. Like he didn't cut.
It's the precision of filmmaking that he appreciated.
Yeah. Well, certainly the precision of how to tell a joke on camera.
Yeah,
in
a Hitchcockian style.
Yeah.
I just remember the newsprint going down the drain after he stabs her with the paper, the newspaper.
And I believe that's Barry Levinson stabbing him.
Oh, it might be. I'm gonna watch it again this week.
Well, because I think he co-wrote it. I think he co-wrote it with him.
That makes sense.
I think that's him stabbing him,
That's
or
amazing.
somebody like that. Just the last thing I'll say about it was I asked him. I was like, people come up to you all the time and go like, you couldn't make Blazing Saddles now, and his comment goes, I couldn't make it then.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but he said
there you go.
All the stuff in that movie that people attribute to Richard Pryor. Mm-hmm. He goes, Richie didn't write any of that stuff. He wrote all the Mongo stuff. That's what he thought was funny. He wrote Mongo was pawn, and Mongo was just a pawn in the game of life. Like that was
well, that's the best though.
I know. So how much of the Criterion business now is DVD versus the channel?
Oh, it's I don't know, money talk.
No, I don't mean money. I just mean percentage of effort. And to that end,
that's a lot.
Do people still make DVD players?
Well, we're mostly kind of steering people more into Blu-ray instead of DVD.
Isn't it the same thing?
No, Blu-ray is much higher quality. And now there's also something called UHD, ultra high definition disc, which we've kind of dipped our toe into as well. So it's really just the same as the progression from, beta SP to Laserdisc to DVD to Blu-ray. The technology just keeps improving and improving.
Yeah.
Because people now want to see things in 4K on their 4K television.
Yeah,
so
I don't have that gene, but I understand people do.
It's a collector's mentality, but also a techie mentality. You know, they really want the best of the best. So we keep up with that. I mean, I don't know percentage wise, but I know we're very busy all the time.
yeah, which is great. I don't like, and I don't know if you've run into, I don't like that I don't know what it is that they do. My TV guy would know, because I had to have him come over and shut it off, where everything looks like a telenovela.
Oh, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like your factory setting when you get your TV, you open it, and it's called like, you know,
I was watching
Vibrance or something. I don't know. And everything looks like
video. Everything looks like it's on video.
Almost. Yeah, it sucks.
I was watching Perry Mason, and I was like, this was not shot on video.
No, it's everybody.
I don't want to see
special effect.
No one wants to see William Hopper this clearly.
Yeah. Well, that's why, as you notice on some of our David Lynch titles, there's a whole section on how to set up your television. You know, we've provided like a grayscale thing and color bars, and here's, you know, text that he's written to talk you through how to set up your TV, and you only can watch them in a pitch black room and with no interruptions. And he doesn't like to put chapter stops on there because he doesn't want you skipping ahead. You know, like you're in it, go for it, spend the 2 hours.
It's so true. And I can only imagine what it's like for him. Like I had, when I was doing Stand Against Evil, like it was just a little crappy half-hour show on cable. But yeah, we're in the mixing room and we're mixing levels and like that, you know, lower the music, raise the scream, the great. And then it comes on TV and it's compressed
exactly.
to nothing. And it's just like, it's just, everything sounds like an air conditioner.
Yeah. So you're doing all of that for the person that has the massive setup.
That's watching it in an editing bay.
Right. Exactly. So all the people that you're just doing for the people in the room.
Yeah. And then it comes out and it's just, everything is just glop, and they squirt it through a tube.
But I mean, we'll go back to the original film elements, including the original sound elements where we can. And if there's a living filmmaker or, you know, person that worked on the film, then we'll consult with them about how it should look, how it should sound. We'll often do new mixes, new surround mixes. All of our films that we put out on disc are restored for the most part. So it's a lot of effort before you even get to what I do. So it starts with the film looking and sounding the best it can as the original filmmaker intended.
Right.
So that's where we start. And then it's just a jumping off point from there about what kind of stuff we add on to it.
It's so funny. Here in LA, we have Amoeba Music, and which has a big
great store.
Has a big DVD section.
Yeah.
And there's also one in Berkeley, because my oldest daughter goes to Cal Berkeley. So I was up there and we were walking around and I was like, "Ooh, let's go into Amoeba." But like I was going through the DVDs and to her it was a completely new experience.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
She loved it.
Yeah.
But it was like, she was like, why would I buy that? Like she couldn't understand buying a DVD because she doesn't have a player. She doesn't have a,
I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But it's the same experience as, you know, going into a store and flipping through vinyl. You know, that was just like how I spent so much of my time.
Yeah.
Just going and looking through all these records.
And that's the great thing about the way the Criterion channel is set up is also great. Let me find stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't, that's the problem with bot curation.
Right.
Or I guess it would be algorithms.
Curation. Yeah, we don't have any algorithms.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know what I want to see.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoy the way it's set up because, I mean, that was the goal. Is to make it not algorithms, to make it, you know, present you with different kind of categories and genres and
or
types of
directors
filmmakers or whatever. You know, we have that great reggae series that just came out that was so cool. You know, we had a whole series of films in New York and it was like 40 movies or something. So, you know, we had sci-fi in the 70s, like that, you know, and like super obscure filmmakers you've never heard of. So
many people running in corduroy.
It's very loud. So I'm glad to hear that you actually enjoy the way that it's all laid out because that means a lot. Because a lot of thought is put into that. I mean, a lot of thought is put into the programming.
But like I watched
just how to present it also.
And I watched a lot of sci-fi in the 70s, and you know, but it's also like there were titles in there that I had never seen or didn't think about. And
Yeah.
that's my genre. Like, I should have known all of them. I was like, oh, holy shit, I don't even know that movie. You know?
No, it's great. We got, I mean, we have some, really good team of people who just really know their shit.
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's great. What are some of the titles that you guys are, I mean, if you can't talk about stuff that's yet to come out that you're working on, what is some stuff that has just come out that that you get really excited about?
Well, I can talk about the stuff that I've worked on because I'm only excited about the things that I've worked on. Obviously.
Naturally.
Right.
Well, that's the only good stuff.
Well, I just finished up on one of your favorite films, The Girl Can't Help It, the Frank Tashlin film, which was very fun. Prior to that, I worked on the Coen Brothers Miller's
Of course,
Crossing.
now they've changed the title just to keep abreast of modern times. It's The Girl Can Help It, She Chooses Not to.
Parentheses. That's great. The one I'm working on now and finishing up hopefully in the next couple of weeks is the 50th anniversary of John Waters' Pink Flamingos.
God.
So it's been a scream.
That just made me happy. That just made me happy, sad. Happy that it's coming
50,
out.
I know.
Sad that it's 50.
Well, especially because I worked on the 25th anniversary Laserdisc. So think how great that makes me feel.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
This is the fourth project I've worked on with John, and it's just, really
So like he's like a
best
buddy
time.
of yours. Yeah, he's like a friend of yours now. Or you're like,
I'm sure that a lot of people say that about John, so I don't want to assume, but I really like working with him, and he's so generous with his time, and obviously just one of the funniest fucking people in the world. So
yes, he is, and he seems to enjoy his life.
Oh God, yes.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Yeah.
He's
really got a great setup.
Yeah.
But he really the hardest working person I have ever seen. He never stops. And he writes every day. He writes every morning religiously without fail.
What does he write? Like, is he working on a script?
He's working on, his books,
memoirs,
his stand-up shows. He's got a novel coming out. His first novel is coming out called Liar Mouth. That's coming out in May.
No,
great.
I write, but it's good. I have to write every day.
Yeah.
Because I
think that's the discipline, right?
Well, I've already taken the money, so I have no choice. But it's good because you feel like you did something.
Yeah.
John Waters just did a thing last weekend that I saw. It was him and Fred Schneider at the Madonna Inn.
Oh God!
And I was like, of course they're friends. And then it made me so happy they were friends. And like, what a great place for them both to be.
Oh, that's so. He told me he went out to California. He didn't tell me that. Good God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember that?
That's the most John Waters you can be.
It really is.
At the Madonna Inn with Fred Schneider. That's the nuclear rod of John Watersness.
Do you remember that early 90s movie, Aria?
No.
That had all of those, it was like Ken Russell, Julian Temple, all of these little snippet short films, all based on opera arias.
Oh,
and there's a really great one filmed at the Madonna Inn with Buck Henry.
See, that would be the one that I would like.
It's the best. You have to find this movie. It's so great. You're going to love it. It's sure incredibly fucking dated by now. But
Buck Henry
just for the Madonna Inn scene is just so great.
And Buck Henry would be the only other person at that gathering that that should have been there that isn't. Like, yeah, where's Buck Henry?
But let me tell you about what we did this weekend. Just a little, taste of things for all those John Waters fans out there. I went out to Baltimore to shoot him going to some of the locations in the film.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you've seen the film recently, but you remember there's Divine lives in a trailer with the filthiest people alive. Okay. So where they shot that was in a place called Phoenix, Maryland, which is maybe 30 miles north of Baltimore. And in a pretty wooded, secluded area. But now, he drove up there 10 years ago and there's all these McMansions. It's like, so I think this is the place. So we contacted the nice couple that lives in the house whose land the trailer was on where the movie was filmed. And they were like, great, come on out. You can shoot here.
That's
no
nice.
problem.
I immediately assumed it was that couple with the AR-15s.
No. They're like, okay, get this. They're in their 80s and they're so generous. And they were like, we're not going to watch the movie though. It's just not our thing. But they do have a pink flamingo that they keep on the lawn because they knew,
good for
but they're
them.
just like, but he also is an astronomer and was responsible for partially inventing the Hubble Space Telescope.
Yeah.
And he was the director of the James Webb Center. I was like,
yeah.
So he's like, I'm a celebrity too. Come on over. So, but the nicest people ever.
Great.
And then, so we have a whole thing that we're editing now of them walking around with a metal detector trying to find the trailer because they just left it there after they burned it. There you go. I won't give you this. No spoilers. So then we go over to 3900 Greenmount, and all these, addresses are in the movie, so you can, Baltimore, just drive on over, which is where Connie and Raymond Marble lived.
Right.
Mink Stoll and David Lockery, and that's where Mink and John lived, and that's where John edited the film in the attic. The guy that lives there, 25, drummer in a black metal band called Cemetery Piss.
Hey!
Come on in. We'll take the tour. So he and John
By the way,
around.
John must have been immediately like, you're my kind of people.
Well, no, he's so sweet. He was like, we've got to get you on camera saying the name of your band so people can go see you.
Yeah.
Come on. So
no, what I mean is like John Waters meets the guy who's in Cemetery Piss. He's like, hello, brother. Hello,
exactly,
fellow traveler.
Exactly. So, the filth tradition is being carried on at the house. But
I just imagine a book. What kind of piss? Oh, cemetery. Got it.
The best thing was at the end, how Divine and Crackers go to their house and they decide to violate them by licking their furniture because it's the worst thing you could do. And then the furniture rejects them. So at the end, John says, Matt, can I ask you a favor? Can I lick your banister? And he's like, sure. So John proceeds to lick, I would say a good foot and a half of the banister. I said, we could have cleaned it first. He said, well, I don't want to lick Lysol. I was like, yeah. So that's your spoiler. Hopefully this will air after June 28th.
Don't tell Hendrix how to play guitar. Don't tell John Waters how to lick a banister.
Exactly. I was like, well, let me send me your bill when you need to, be hospitalized.
And that
But I guess after eating dog shit, it's all, Divine, he was like, well, I'll be fine.
Yeah. It all goes down from there. Mm-hmm. What I always thought was interesting about Water, and I would love to know what his attitude, John Waters' attitude is towards Hairspray, where he made Fred Schneider's in Hairspray. There's the connection.
Oh, and
he's the beatnik, isn't he? Isn't he?
No, that's Rick Ocasek.
You're right. I'm wrong.
It was Pia Zadora and Rick Ocasek.
Right. You like Negro. But then it's a John Waters film, and then it becomes this mainstream hit, and then they make a movie of the play of the movie.
I know. Really, I think he said it was his biggest success. Obviously,
I'm
because
sure.
It became the most mainstream thing that he'd ever done. The most palatable.
Well, the money from he gets money, and he gets money from that musical.
Oh, I'm sure, and that's performed in regional theaters and high schools all over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's so good. I love that movie. That's the one I want to do next. So I'm putting it up in the universe. Yeah, I think it's so great.
It's so great. It's so, but I also think there's a great market for it because I think the average Joe six pack, the average ham and egger, Mr. Lunch Pail,
ham and egger. I gotta remember that.
I stole that from Bruce Campbell.
That's good. Okay, good to know.
Because I'm a method actor. Any method that works. I'm just a ham and egger.
Sorry,
but
that's a good one.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But they don't even know that Hairspray was a movie before the movie.
I know. And if you can't see Divine as Mrs. Turnblad, and Jerry Stiller, it's such a Debbie Harry, it's such a great cast, and all those kids that are the dancers are all so good in it. It's just really great. And the music, it just is a testament to, going back to Mondo Trasho, Multiple Maniacs, and Pink Flamingos. John has really good taste in music, and all those needle drops are so great. And the music in Hairspray, the 1988 version, is so good. Yeah. So it's just perfect for me.
Yeah. No, it's great. And the music I'm assuming will be the bugaboo when that will be the headache when you start to.
I don't think so, because I think all that stuff was cleared by that time. The early ones, Multiple Maniacs, we had to go and change some stuff. We did the restoration. That's just the nature.
Have you seen the documentary The Wrecking Crew?
I have not, no, but I bet it's amazing.
Oh my God, you have to get it.
Okay, writing it down.
It's 'cause my friend made it.
Oh, okay.
My friend Denny Tedesco, who was the son of Tommy Tedesco, the guitarist
gosh.
from the Wrecking Crew.
Right. Okay.
And speaking of the nicest guys in the world, Denny's just this great guy who lives the life that I fantasized about. Grew up in the valley with a tiki hut in his backyard.
Come on.
His dad was in the Wrecking Crew. Like his dad played with Elvis in the '68 comeback
Holy
special.
moly, God.
And he made this this excellent documentary about the Wrecking Crew. But the music clearances were. Just super
It's
headache.
such a nightmare. I know when we do,
but it's a beautiful piece of work, and I recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, music clearances are a total headache. When we do like Monterey Pop or Give Me Shelter or anything that we have like a different scene that wasn't in the film. I don't know if we specifically ended up clearing things for those, but it becomes an issue because it's like, oh, that song wasn't in the movie, so it's not cleared for any of this shit. So you have to go out, and then it's there was a scene recently in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is a scene in the movie when Brad is washing his car when Jennifer Jason Leigh comes home. And I think the roses got delivered. And he's like, who are these from? And Amy Heckerling always wanted that to be Back in Black.
Right.
But it was this song called Raised on the Radio, which she totally hated and didn't want anything to do with it. So we were like trying to edit it to see, and it totally went with Back in Black. But then I started looking into it. I'm like, this is going to cost like millions of dollars. Like, totally not worth it.
And I think that's really, music clearances have really changed because it used to be, I remember, golly, it's again, everything is so tightly wound. My Rob Cohen, who's my writing partner and in everything basically, was a security guard at the Sherman Oaks Galleria.
Oh God!
When he first moved to LA from Calgary, and it was the late '80s, mid '80s. He was a dorky 20-year-old security guard at the Sherman Oaks Galleria.
Best,
but So Rob and I had a show on MTV in the late '90s called Super Adventure Team, which was the movie Team America a year before the movie Team America. But I'm not making any accusations, and I'm sure the fact that they used our entire voice cast is merely a coincidence.
It's absolutely a coincidence.
But I like those guys. They're funny. Who cares? Who cares? We're all parodying the same thing, Thunderbirds. But we had an episode where these it was really dope. It was all marionettes. These terrorists take over an embassy, and then they go, "All right, what are your demands?" And they didn't realize that they got demands. Like they didn't think it through. So then they have to have a meeting to find out what their demands are.
What would we like?
They wanted to meet Kiss. That was their demands. So we called Kiss. Somehow we were with MTV, so we called Kiss. And it was the conversation was basically like, hey, we want to do this thing where it's a parody of Thunderbirds, and they heard the parody of Thunderbirds and they just went, I think it was Gene Simmons, and I think it was go ahead, and that was it. And so they dressed up like Kiss, and we got to use a needle drop of Rock and Roll All Night.
Okay, that's
it didn't cost us a dime.
Like Gene Simmons is
it didn't cost us a dime
because he's smart and he's marketed Kiss so well, and every other aspect, he's probably made a gazillion fucking dollars. So he's probably like, that sounds cool. Why not? I don't need the money from that. You know what I mean? That's awesome.
But it just kicks up the brand. Yeah, I've been told like when you, my friend used to be over his house a lot. I think like he dated Gene's wife's assistant or something. Okay. And my friend is a really brilliant director named Mike Mendez, and he directs low budget horror movies. He says, Mike, you gotta get a low budget films. You gotta get a big budget films, Mike. Like, I'd like to. I'm not intentionally doing this.
Right. Thanks for the advice, Gene.
Yeah, I think he called it. I think Mike had a little mustache. I have to call, but I think Mike had a little mustache at the time. He called him Gomez. Gomez, come in.
Oh my. God. I kind of miss his reality show. It was such a shit show.
Yeah, it was
like,
but
what?
You want a Kiss pinball machine?
Yes.
I'm
telling you, he's got like 100 of them in his garage.
You know, he does. That's what Mike said. He goes, you want a pinball machine? No, I don't want a pinball machine. I live in an apartment.
I'll take it. Take the pinball machine.
So you were talking about the girl can't help it, and you also will success spoil Rock Hunter. Is that one? Is that one?
It's
also,
not on the schedule now, but I think that this will open the door to more Frank Tashlin.
He's somebody that needs their moment.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I don't know that this was the Girl Can't Help It was the movie to do that with necessarily, just because of all the music.
Phenomenal.
It's such a kind of story about that. It's a story about Jane. We definitely touch on Frank. We've got, did I send you a copy?
But I mean, I've seen the film.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, none of the film I haven't
inside
seen
is an insert of, he was a cartoonist.
Yeah, it was an animator. He was an
animator.
Yeah.
And so we have this little insert of a book that he wrote about how to draw cartoons. And so we've reprinted a bunch of pages about his technique.
God.
It's really cool. You'll have to go open it right after this. It's super cool.
He worked with Tex Avery.
Yep.
And they had, when they worked together, they, like, even now when you look at like the Avery Tashlin cartoons, they're alarming. Like, everybody knows Bugs Bunny, but what you have to see is Screwball Squirrel.
Oh God!
And Screwball Squirrel, I believe, predated Bugs Bunny, and it was just this really anarchic, unpleasant character that they created. It was like the distasteful Bugs Bunny, and because Bugs Bunny was basically Cary Grant, but Screwball Squirrel is just this Leo Gorsius miscreant.
Oh God! Yeah, okay, I have to watch that. I mean, I feel like most squirrels are like that, but that's just
you opened up a real can of worms.
That's right. Here we go. Now we talked about squirrels for an hour.
But it is and what Tashlin did when he moved out of animation, but he and I don't know, I'd be hard pressed to tell you another director that did this as effortlessly. There are contemporary directors that can bring an animated sensibility to a live action film. Joe Dante can do it when he chooses to do it. Right. Savage Steve Holland, I think, did it. But Tashlin did it effortlessly. I mean, like the minute you look, the first 5 seconds of The Girl Can't Help It doesn't look like anything else you've ever seen.
I mean, Tom Yule's addressing the audience.
Yeah.
It's like,
and Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter has a whole section where where Tony Randall turns to camera and congratulates the audience for not watching television and going to the theater, and then they shrink the image of the movie down to what it would look like on your television, so the entire cinema screen is black except for this tiny blue square with Tony Randall in the lower left corner.
It's and so he's weirdly subversive in a way for a Hollywood film, right?
It's like, there, isn't this better? It's amazing.
Wink. That's great.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing what he did. And and that's the thing, is like otherwise this stuff just gets lost.
Yeah. And I will say there is a direct connection between The Girl Can't Help It and Pink Flamingos, because it is one of John Waters' favorite films. And
I didn't know that. That
Divine obviously walks down, the street in Pink Flamingos to The Girl Can't Help It.
Right.
So, and he loved the production design so much. Like, if you see Female Trouble, like all of the sets, he wanted those to look like all the sets in the nightclubs in The Girl Can't Help It.
Right.
So they're very simpatico, I would say.
I believe Tashlin directed Artists and Models.
He did, which is another one I really want to see. I've never seen that film.
I just watched it.
Okay.
And what's interesting about it, Artists and Models was one of the last Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis movies. And there are a couple of things about it that are really fascinating. One, obviously, Frank Tashlin directed it, and you can tell Frank Tashlin directed it. And I think Jerry actually really respected Frank, because this was right
Frank
when
taught him a lot about directing.
Yeah, because Jerry was shadowing Frank and really trying to learn about directing. I think, and also it's when Dean and Jerry stopped talking. But I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
To watch a movie with these two guys, and then that the minute they call cut, they're walking in the opposite direction.
So weird.
It is weird, but it's also fascinating to me. It's just like
there's the craft of acting too, right?
Yeah,
you're pretending.
It is just fascinating the way friendships work,
right,
as a human element.
Yeah. And I do think that they were very close to each other, Tashlin and Jerry Lewis.
Yeah.
I just want to give a little plug here to WFMU is a radio station in Jersey City, New Jersey. I don't know if you guys know about that out there in California.
WFMU?
Yeah. Freeform Radio, WFMU, great station. 91.1. It's the best. It's been around forever.
Is it? Can you stream it on
yes,
Sirius or
I'll
something?
send it. You can. They stream off their website, but they're listener supported.
Okay.
And
I'll do it.
I got two DJs, Dave the Spaz and Gaylord Fields, to do a whole interview.
Dave the Spaz and Gaylord Fields?
To do a whole interview piece on The Girl Can't Help It about the music, about every artist in the film. And there's some really weird, obscure people in there. So the piece is really super fun. You should watch it.
Do you know Tom Kenny?
I don't. That name sounds very familiar, though.
He is known to the world as the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Gotcha. That's why.
But he's how I know about Frank Tashlin.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I first started out in Boston in the 80s as a comic, my Tom and Bobcat Goldthwait were that's who I met.
That's awesome.
I'm this person.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned. And it was through Tom that I learned all about Screwball Squirrel, Frank Tashlin, and Bobcat.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. And Tom knows he is an encyclopedia of that stuff. So
it was very. These guys are perfect to do it. I think you'll really like the piece. It's very.
Oh, great!
You're just like what? Mostly the one tidbit I remember was that Bobby Troup, who wrote "The Girl Can't Help It," was married to.
The Girl Can't Help was married to
Julie London.
Julie London, and I'm sure
she's also in the film.
But the weird connection. I'm sure you know this. Before being married to Bobby Troup, Julie London was married to Jack Webb. And Jack Webb put them both in the show Emergency that he produced after they were divorced.
Huh.
And Bobby Troup is on 100 Dragnets. He's always like the smooth jazz bow on Dragnet that didn't see the car wreck.
That's so great. Wow, I didn't realize there was that Jack Webb connection. That's insane.
Yeah, Bobby Troup is always answering the door at 10 in the morning in a pair of sunglasses and a bathrobe. Yeah, can I help you guys?
Okay. This is the thing. My friend Kate and I are obsessed with in movies and TV shows from that era when the guy comes to the door in the robe, but with like khakis on. And like, a tank top and a cigarette. It's like, you're wearing that over your pants? But once you start seeing it, you can't not see it. It's like everywhere.
Kat has we are both Dragnet freaks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have Jack Webb's bar set.
Oh God, that's
because
great.
I was on the road and I'm on every like vintage LA thing.
Yeah.
And
great.
I sent her there's a Jack Webb estate sale this weekend, but I'm in Denver.
Oh, so she picked stuff up for you?
Not only did she go, but she goes, I went and there was a line around the block. But two cops just walked in because Jack was so into the LAPD.
Yeah.
They just walked in, and she goes, "I just walked in behind them, like I was with them."
Damn.
And she walked. She was in restaurant service for years and things, and knows that stuff.
Yeah.
Made a beeline to the bar cart. We have his whiskey decanters, his ashtrays,
that's so cool.
his glass.
You have to send me a photo. I want to see them.
Oh,
that's
sure.
Great. That's so great.
And the thing that she notices about Jack Webb is, and it's really true, especially if you watch the late 60s Dragnets, you have never seen quiet disdain than when Jack Webb is having to listen to a woman talk.
Oh my God.
It's just like
lately. Wrap it up. You're wrong. You're wrong. I'm going to explain this to you.
Yeah, and then your husband was murdered. Jack used to live on, after he moved out of the house in the valley in Encino where we raided, he lived in the Sunset Towers off Doheny.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And he would be coming home at night on Sunset Boulevard, weaving,
Oh, boy.
Had a hard time metabolizing sugar. And he would get pulled over by the LAPD.
Who he was friends with.
And they would take him into the one cop would step out of the car. Jack would get into the squad car. The other cop would drive Jack's car and park it in the garage, and they would put Jack to bed.
Wow.
That was yeah.
That's great.
I know. I do miss that. I miss all that.
Yeah. That's not happening anytime soon.
Are people always coming up to you going, you have to do this movie?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I do make an effort to write them down and email them to the acquisitions folks. So just let me know.
Well, here they I'm going to give you three
Okay,
titles.
I'm literally writing them down.
Okay. If you've never, unless you've already done it, I'm not sure if you, the DI.
No, we have not.
And 30, which are two Jack Webb movies.
There you go.
That are the DI is the Jack Webbiest. The DI is to Jack Webb what John Waters and Fred Schneider in the Pink Flamingo are to John Waters. He plays a Marine drill instructor, and also in 30 he plays the night editor of a newspaper.
Ooh, that sounds great.
It's amazing. And
that sounds very Sam Fuller.
Yes, it is. It is.
Great.
And the weird thing about 30 is the subplot of 30, and it all takes place in the night.
Okay.
The subplot of 30 is that his wife wants to adopt a child, and she's trying to convince him to adopt the child. And I guess it's of the era. To me, as an adoptive parent, I'm gobsmacked by it. But he just has this, honey, I could never love a child that wasn't mine.
Oh, God.
well, then you're a sociopath.
Right. So don't even try. Just assume that it's not going to work out.
That's not what a normal human being says.
What year is this film?
60 something.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other one is like one of the great underrated movies, Martin.
Oh, right.
George Romero's Martin.
Sure. Yeah. I feel like that's come up before.
Yeah, it's so good. It's like that movie is so ripe for a remake, but I'm also glad it's never been remade.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's slippery slope there.
Yeah, exactly. Be careful what you wish for.
Right. Well, I'm not going to run out and remake it anytime soon. So we're good.
Yeah, but it's a great movie about a kid who may or may not be a vampire.
Yeah, that's come up a few times. I don't know what, I feel like somebody else must have put it out by now.
Yeah. Well, I also think that, and I also, I don't know what the issue is with it. I think that Romero sat really tight on it in terms of, I'm sure people wanted to, people wanted to do a hot and sexy remake of it. And he was like, no, that's not what
fine, just let it go.
Yeah. So let's get your plugs in the Criterion channel.
Correct.
On your streaming device. Get it.
Yes.
And then,
thank you.
What is the website for people to look at the Criterion? Is it JaniceFilms.com?
No, well, it's just Criterion.com.
Criterion.com.
Correct.
Yeah. Highly recommended. And your top three, it's like asking people to pick a favorite child.
Yeah.
But the ones that you did that you're like, this was the one that I really hit it out of the park on. Carnival of Souls.
Okay, well, then I'm going to have to do more than three. So Carnival of Souls, I would say Island of Lost Souls.
Yep.
Only souls.
Anything with souls in it.
And, I'm looking through what I've produced to answer this question.
Sure.
Slacker, I thought was great.
Slacker was great.
Two-Lane Blacktop was great.
Mm-hmm. One of the greatest. Yeah. I have that one.
Yeah, and Repo Man. There are so many.
Yeah, but those are all like all those. Yep, own that. Yep, own that. Yep, own that. Yep,
Mulholland Drive, of course, you have to own that because you're there.
Right. Is the pilot in the extras of that?
No, he didn't want to.
I saw the pilot before he made the movie.
Yeah,
like I was like, I want to see
out there.
Yeah, well, it was like you're in Showbiz. Like I want to see the David Lynch pilot when it was being considered as a movie.
Yeah,
as a pilot.
Yeah.
And then and I was like, yeah, this is okay. Yeah, I get it. And then when I saw the movie, I was like, oh wow, what he did is it is amazing what he did.
Way cooler. Yeah, it's great. I know that there's a rumor that it's out there, but I don't know. I've never actually seen
it.
So.
It certainly is.
But I will say, we will have more David Lynch in the near future.
Oh yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Feature wise or
Can you keep that vague for you?
Sure.
I'll tell you off, Mike.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You're not going to not tell me. All right. Well, Susan, thank you so much, Susan, for
Thank you, Dana. This has been a lot of fun. So good to talk to you.
Yeah. Again, it's great to see you. And plus, the last time I saw you, it was weird because we were both wearing masks. So it was.
Oh, I know. That's right.
So
Totally.
Weird. Yeah. It was so weird. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
They're true tales from Weirdsville. Tales from Weirdsville. And they're true.
Can your heart stand the shocking facts?
It was February 18th, 1969. Richard Nixon had been in the White House for 2 days shy of 1 month. The number one song in the country was Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stone. Yoko Ono was celebrating her 36th birthday, and Dr. Dre was somewhere celebrating his 4th. In less celebratory news, NBC announced that it was canceling the television series Star Trek, which would officially cease production at the end of its 3rd season. They had announced they were canceling it a year ago, at the end of its 2nd season, but a never-seen-before outpouring of viewer protest, which took the form primarily of a massive letter-writing campaign organized by Star Trek superfans John and B. Joe Trimble, had convinced NBC to bring the show back for a 3rd season. Be careful what you wish for. Although the show came back, it was moved to Friday nights at 10 p.m., known in TV as the Death Slot. And for good reason. 99% of the people who watch Star Trek, teenagers and young adults, aren't at home on Friday nights at 10 o'clock. And this was long before VCRs and streaming. So if you weren't home to watch a show, you didn't watch the show. And if the show was not getting watched, there ain't no reason to make it. Unhappy with his new and terrible time slot, and his new and terrible budget, Star Trek Season 3 budget was less than its Season 1 budget, Star Trek creator and executive producer Gene Roddenberry stepped down from the day-to-day running of the show. Those duties were then handed to Fred Freiberger, or Fred Freeberger, or maybe the two did it together. A journeyman TV producer hot off Ben Casey and the Wild Wild West. But Gene Roddenberry was Star Trek. And in its 2 years on the air, he had built strong relationships with some of the best writers on television. As a result, you got timeless, classic TV, like The Corbomite Maneuver and City on the Edge of Forever. What you did not have was episodes like Spock's Brain, which was the premiere of the show's ill-starred 3rd season. The show's last day of filming was January 9th, 1969. It was officially canceled a month and a half later. Great story if it ends there. It doesn't. Kaiser Broadcasting owned and operated a network of independent TV stations across the country. Stations like Boston's own WLVI, TV 56. Kaiser purchased the syndication rights to air Star Trek every weeknight at 6 o'clock as counter-programming to the evening news. This was the perfect time slot for kids, after school, sports, and homework, just before dinner. It was here, in syndication, or reruns, as it was called, that Star Trek went from low-rated network show to cult TV phenomenon. By 1972, Star Trek, the show that wouldn't die, was airing in 100 U.S. cities and over 60 other countries in the world. In January of 1972, in New York City, they held something called a Star Trek convention. Star Trek's popularity in syndication began to grow and grow and grow, to the point that around 1975, Paramount started talking about, quite possibly, making a low-budget Star Trek feature film. In June of 1975, Gene Roddenberry had completed a script called The God Thing, about a godlike entity hurtling towards the Earth from across the galaxy, that, in the end, turns out to be, basically, a giant computer. Paramount rejected the idea. On one hand, they wanted a big, grand idea that would justify a movie, and bumping into God in outer space is no doubt that. But from a fan's point of view, right out of the gate, this is not Star Trek. Star Trek was Kirk and Spock and McCoy bickering the three sides of an argument, and a good deal of running around and jumping and fighting, and Kirk making out with green chicks, and some really great pulp science fiction ideas that rarely, if ever, took themselves super seriously and climbed up their own ass. For the record, and we'll revisit this point later, it's tricky when a character in your movie is God, because the audience knows it's not God. And right from the get-go, all of the tension and suspension of disbelief is gone from your story. The audience is ahead of you. They'll believe you're showing them space travel. They'll believe you're showing them werewolves. But God, you ain't gonna show them God. Not really. In retrospect, it's obvious that the people at Paramount had no idea what they wanted. They knew what they didn't want, but only after they saw it. And that pretty much was everything. Other big-name science fiction writers were brought in to pitch stories for a Star Trek movie. Ray Bradbury, Theodore Sturgeon, Harlan Ellison. Harlan Ellison wrote one of the best episodes of the original series, City on the Edge of Forever, mentioned before. He came in and pitched some ideas. Paramount passed. On some ideas, they hemmed and they hawed, and then they passed. Now, it's October of 1976. They're still at it. Two writers named Robert Silverberg and John D.F. Black are working on an idea about a black hole that threatens the Earth. Gene Roddenberry has another idea that he's working on with a writer named John Povell. This was about the Enterprise having to go back in time and save the Earth by resetting something that happened in the past. Now, this was an idea that had been explored in the series, to best effect in City on the Edge of Forever, and also to lesser effect in the Enterprise incident. They would also revisit this theme later in the film Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. One idea surfaced from two British writers named Chris Bryant and Adam Scott. The subtitle was Planet of the Titans, in which the crew of the Enterprise encounters a group of aliens believed to be the mythical Titans of Earth's past. The Enterprise, along with the Titans, goes back thousands of years into Earth history, where they, among other things, help mankind discover fire. Again, oi! Scale it down, people! But no, this was 1976, and science fiction was still heavy and serious. The biggest sci-fi titles were 2001 and the Planet of the Apes series. And Roddenberry and company most definitely felt they were kindred spirits with the former. Roddenberry turned his attention to the Planet of the Titans script. Philip Kaufman, who would later go on to direct the brilliant 1978 remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and who co-wrote the story with George Lucas for Raiders of the Lost Ark, was brought in to direct. Production designers were hired. Ralph McQuarrie, who had just finished another science fiction film, directed by the guy who made American Graffiti of all things, a film that nobody knew anything about and cared about even less. Working with Ralph McQuarrie was Ken Adams of the James Bond franchise, and together, McQuarrie and Adams set about designing the new Star Trek. But there was no script. It was a mess. Roddenberry wanted one thing. Philip Kaufman wanted another thing. The two writers, Chris Bryant and Adam Scott, were contractually obligated to give both men what they wanted, while also giving themselves what they wanted. And everybody wanted something different. On one occasion, they literally begged to be fired. Paramount Pictures, meanwhile, still wasn't sure what it wanted and continued to hope against hope that all of this would work out. You know how that is. If people just disagree strong enough on enough things, eventually everybody agrees on everything. Nope. On May 8th, 1977, a young Paramount executive named Jeffrey Katzenberg, who had been assigned to the Star Trek project, informed director Philip Kaufman that Paramount had abandoned plans to go ahead with a Star Trek movie. 3 weeks later, Yep. Star Wars, released by not Paramount. But now everyone was hopping as fast as they could onto the sci-fi bandwagon, hoping to grab some of that sweet Star Wars green. And Paramount was no exception. Paramount chief Barry Diller had an epiphany. He wasn't comfortable with the direction that Star Trek had taken as a feature. Why? Well, to begin with, Star Trek was a TV show. Shouldn't it feel like a TV show? What if we made Star Trek again as a TV show? In fact, we can use it as the flagship series on an entirely new network, the Paramount Network. Yes, it's brilliant! Let's do it! And so began Star Trek Phase 2. All of the original cast members were signed to return to duty on board the Starship Enterprise, except for Mr. Spock. Leonard Nimoy was not into it. In fact, he was so not into it, he wrote a book called I Am Not Spock. Okay, point taken. The new Star Trek's pilot episode would be from an idea by Roddenberry called In Thy Image, and it was about a NASA probe returning to Earth after gaining sentience. To replace Spock, the half-Vulcan, half-human first officer of the Enterprise, Roddenberry created the character of Zahn, a full-blooded Vulcan. Zahn would be the science officer. As a first officer, Roddenberry created William Decker. Decker was also on hand, rumor had it, for fear that, in success, William Shatner would become too expensive to keep on the show. Okey doke. 1977 rolled along and the country was still in the grip of Star Wars fever, as well as disco fever and CB radio fever. Star Trek Phase 2 script had been approved. The project was go for launch. In fact, Star Trek Phase 2 was now only 2 weeks away from production. Sets had been built, models had been built, wardrobe designed and fitted. In the midst of all of this, another classic science fiction film opened. It was called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Like Star Wars, Close Encounters was a massive hit. And like Star Wars, it was also produced by not Paramount. Michael Eisner, who had been hired by Barry Diller to run the feature unit at Paramount, read the script for In Thy Image and thought, you know what? This is a movie, not a TV series. It's a movie. Let's do it. And so, production on Star Trek Phase 2 was halted. The crew was laid off, and everything came to a dead stop, while the studio prepared to make a dadgummit movie of the TV series that had started when they planned to make a movie of it. But if we're making a movie, thought the movie people, some stuff's gotta change. The sets and the costumes and the models, the redesigned Enterprise, etc., all had to be upgraded to look good enough to be seen on the big screen. TV is TV, but movies is movies. They needed a big director, a feature film director. Robert Wise, who had not only directed the original The Day the Earth Stood Still, as well as the Andromeda Strain, and also edited a little movie called Citizen Kane, for Christ's sakes, was brought on board to direct. But one thing was missing. Spock. Yeah, good old Spock. You see, Leonard Nimoy had issues. In addition to his reluctance to reprise the role, there's also the fact that Paramount owed him a lot of money. Paramount had licensed Mr. Spock's image. At one point, there was a Mr. Spock beer ad on a billboard somewhere that Leonard Nimoy saw, not knowing about it. He just drove past it, and there he was, up on a billboard, selling beer and not getting a nickel for it. Leonard Nimoy, understandably, did not care for that. Interesting tidbit. You can't do this anymore, and I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it is because Boris Karloff's daughter Sarah brought suit against Universal Studios for a lack of payment regarding the licensing of her father's image, particularly in the Frankenstein makeup, and she won the case. And her lawyer? Bela Lugosi Jr. Anyway, Jeffrey Katzenberg was sent to New York to work out Nimoy's issues, and eventually the two sides agreed that Paramount would write Leonard Nimoy a big check and that Leonard Nimoy would cash it. That issue dealt with, Leonard Nimoy would once again don the ears. With everything in place, the cast and crew of Star Trek the Motion Picture prepared for the beginning of principal photography. The film already had a release date set, December 7th, 1979. But there were already a couple of problems. The film didn't really have an ending. Like Apocalypse Now, released the same year, there was no simple, obvious, blow up the Death Star conclusion to the story. And attempts to rework the existing ending into something more satisfying, in addition to rewrites on the rest of the script, rained down on the cast every day during production. It wasn't a structural issue with the script. It was much bigger than that. It was conceptual. And this misconception haunted Star Trek the Motion Picture from its green light to today. As I said, Star Trek is about people. It's about Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and the rest of the crew struggling to overcome some obstacle or whatever. Like a family, they bicker, but like a family, they love and support each other. And you can feel that coming off the screen. And it's a great way to tell science fiction stories. Even the most far-fetched premises can be sold because you're invested in, believe in, relate to, and love the characters. Star Trek the Motion Picture is not about characters. It isn't even really telling a story. It's examining an idea. What would happen if a machine became sentient? Would this melding of a machine with a consciousness serve as a blueprint for mankind's next step in evolution? Yeah, it's an idea. Okay. How do you end an idea in a way that's cinematically satisfying? It's a question Stanley Kubrick struggled with throughout the production of 2001. He solved it because he's Stanley Kubrick. But even then, audiences rejected the film at first. 2001 was not an instant success upon release. It had to catch on. The machine in Star Trek the Motion Picture was named V'ger. In the film, V'ger took the form of a galactic cloud headed towards Earth, destroying everything in its path. At the core of V'ger lies Voyager 6, an American space probe sent to space hundreds of years ago that has acquired so much knowledge it has achieved consciousness and now wants to reunite with its creator. One of the interesting facts about this story is, after years of Paramount paying for story development and scripts and drafts and pitches and premises and writers and more writers, Gene Roddenberry and his team came up with a story they'd already done before. The Changeling, a Season 3 Star Trek episode written by John Meredith Lucas, is described as such. The crew of the USS Enterprise deals with a life-destroying space probe originally launched from Earth. Sound familiar? In fact, so subservient was Star Trek the Motion Picture script to its lofty concept that it got rid of all the things about Star Trek that we loved. For one thing, right out of the gate, none of the characters in the film seem happy. Kirk acts pissy and depressed, McCoy shows up bitching, Spock is an asshole. None of the performances are colorful and fun the way the characters usually were. Neither was the look of the film. Star Trek was made by NBC, which was owned by RCA, which was trying to sell color televisions. So Star Trek went on the air with the marching orders to be as colorful as possible. So you get those uniforms, big blasts of red and blue and gold. Watch any old episode of the original series and note how they like the sets with green gels and purple gels. It's fantastic. But director Robert Wise, who knew what he was doing, but he felt that those colors wouldn't work on the big screen. He didn't want the costumes to pop. He wanted the actors to pop. So the crew of the Enterprise were dressed in what looked like, for lack of a better term, gray and beige pajamas. A gray and beige crew on a gray and beige ship where nothing really happens and everyone's pissed off, and don't ask us how it ends, because we don't know yet. One thing Star Trek the Motion Picture did promise was a visual feast of special effects majesty. Remember, this was right after Star Wars, which blew people's minds and raised the bar significantly on what was expected on screen from a science fiction movie. And Star Trek, the little series that could, would not disappoint in this department. Now, if you were going to do a space movie in 1977 or 1978, there were basically two people to go to. Douglas Trumbull, who did 2001: A Space Odyssey and Close Encounters, or John Dykstra, who did Star Wars. At the time of Star Trek the Motion Picture's initial pre-production, both men were unavailable, so the contract was awarded to a company called Robert Abel and Associates, and they were famous at the time for these very visually stunning TV commercials, showing stuff like a pair of Levi's that walks down the street by itself and farts rainbows and all sorts of stuff. Principal photography for Star Trek the Motion Picture wrapped on January 26, 1979, and director Robert Wise turned his attention to the Herculean post-production schedule, editing, scoring, and the special effects. Robert Abel and Company had been working on the film's elaborate and costly special effects for close to a year. They had spent $5 million. They had not produced one frame of usable footage. Not one. The film was set to open in 10 months. I can't even imagine it. Paramount, as one would understandably expect, started shitting kittens. And here is where Star Trek the Motion Picture really went over budget. To ensure that the film met its promised December 7th release date, Paramount Pictures gave 2001's Douglas Trumbull, now available, a blank check and said, "Go and do what you have to do to get this film in theaters by December 7th. And God bless him, he did it. It meant multiple crews working around the clock at Warner Brothers in Burbank, John Dykstra's shop in Van Nuys. Trumbull had to hire John Dykstra to help meet the goal, this being the special effects equivalent of an all-hands-on-deck situation. Additionally, Douglas Trumbull's own shop in Marina del Rey was in use, with practically every special effects guy in Hollywood working around the clock 7 days a week in multiple shifts to get the film finished. The special effects budget ballooned to $10 million, $1979. The film was completed on time. Just on time. It was so down to the wire. The film's premiere was in Washington, D.C. at the National Air and Space Museum. Robert Wise carried the prints there himself from Warner Brothers. They were still wet from the lab. Unfortunately, the schedule was so tight that Robert Wise was never able to screen the film for audiences. He was never able to get a sense of how it played and make trims and cuts. Fun fact, same with Kubrick's 2001. Wise considered the released film a rough cut. Kubrick would refine 2001 between the release and the wide release. Star Trek the Motion Picture ended up with a budget of $44 million. It grossed $139 million worldwide and was met with mediocre reviews, some calling it fun. Others, like Time Magazine's Richard Schickel, wrote, "The film consists of spaceships that take an unconscionable amount of time to get anywhere, and nothing of dramatic or human interest happens along the way." Robert Wise finally got to present a director's cut of the film in 2001. This allowed him to make some cuts, trim some scenes, add one or two others, and fix a lot of rough or outdated special effects. Star Trek the Motion Picture is definitely worth a watch. I have a weird affection for it. It is, like Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula or Mars Attacks, a film that doesn't really work, that I still enjoy watching. As everyone knows, Star Trek was not finished. It went on. Star Trek the Motion Picture was successful enough to warrant a much cheaper sequel, but Paramount, tired of fighting with Gene Roddenberry, gave him something of a ceremonial title, but stripped him of all authority. The guy who ran the show on Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, was a guy named Harve Bennett. Roddenberry would, of course, turn his attention back to television with the creation of a little show that no one thought would work, called Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Engage.
And now, on with the show.
It is a beautiful, balmy, I guess it's spring soon? Is it spring yet? Day here at high atop the Mulholland Drive view shelf here in sunny Southern California. We're at the Falcon's Lair Recording Studios, ensconced in the off-house wing. And I'm here with two guests that I consider personal friends. They oddly don't consider me a personal friend, but I'm fine with that.
Well, we only just met to be
only just
I mean,
recently.
how long really? We
27 years. Paul.
27
That's
years.
27
Dana.
years?
Yeah.
Paul, that's Dana.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that's your friend Dana.
Oh,
We've known each other but most people know him now, if you're a fan of this show, as Rusty Steele of Rusty Steele and the Steel Wheels fame, and his mysterious wife Claudine. Please welcome my very good friends, Paul Greenberg and Jackie Harris Greenberg.
No hyphen.
No hyphen?
No hyphen,
Is it just
Dana.
one word?
It's just
Harris Greenberg?
It's like
Yeah,
Harris,
it's all together.
Harris space Greenberg. It's
Oh.
space.
No, really.
Pause.
I'd hyphen it.
Really? No.
no,
that way when we get divorced, I just drop the Greenberg.
Oh,
and
I
there's no
see.
hyphen.
hyphening is
But if you hyphened it
snobs.
when you get divorced, you could say, Jerbo Paul, he broke her hyphen.
Yeah,
We'll be right back.
I had my hyphen broken in prison.
But because of that, you were gifted with one more day of sweet, precious life.
That's what prison is. One more day. One more day.
One day more.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah,
song.
right?
Now,
Les Mis.
you guys have been able to do what I could not do, which is one, have a marriage work. Two, but you both are performers. You're writers and performers, and you're a successful married couple, which is not common. People assume it is, but it's actually not.
It isn't.
And I'm sure
common.
you hate that question.
Well, we're as confused as everybody else.
Sure.
As to the reasons that it does work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the best thing that ever happened to us, as far as was getting out of Canada.
Getting out of Canada.
Once
You're
we
both
got out of
Canadian.
yes.
Right.
But when we were in Canada, people did not like the idea of us
together.
performing together.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
It was weird.
They did things to stop it from happening.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Car accidents,
anything,
fires.
anything.
There'd be like,
I'd be like, don't drink that. And I'd look and it'd be poisoned.
Really?
Yeah. No, it was
There's
pretty
more
weird.
going on to Canada is not just America's affable middle brother upstairs.
It's not. It might be the one with the mouth sewn closed sitting in the corner.
Yeah, there's more going
creepy.
on. There's more going on to Canada than I know, than the average American assumes.
You know, recently I think people are realizing there's more to Canada. We have racists too. It's that kind of place.
Well, you had that big trucker convoy,
Right.
but
yeah,
it
that
changed
freaked,
so
that freaked
much.
the Americans out.
But
for
we've
sure.
we've spent our entire life here. We've been here 25 years or longer. Of people saying, oh, Canada's like perfect. It's like the greatest. No one locks their doors in Canada, and everybody's so friendly, and it's just like any other place. It's not really that much different than here, except people speak their mind here. In Canada, they don't.
They're a little
They
more
stay quiet.
culturally reserved.
They are.
Well, yeah, I said this to my oldest daughter when she went to college a couple months ago. I said, and I think this is kind of true universally. Like, half the people suck. And of that good half, 80%, you meet them, you like them, and 20% will be in your life and friendly, and you'll be friends with them.
That's a good equation.
Math.
That's a good math. That's a good equation.
80% people, they're fine. I don't know them
right.
that well, but they're fine.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think
you
we've
just keep-
proven recently that 50% do suck.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I don't know if they suck as much as they ever have sucked, or if they suck more. I think we just know more about how they suck because of technology and information.
Right. Too much information.
Yeah, but I don't really think they suck any less than they did in the 50s.
No.
I
agree. They're just
and also people think, oh, America was so much nicer in the 50s. No, we had segregation in the 50s.
Yeah.
There was horrible
homosexuality was, you could go to prison for it.
Alcoholism was rampant because people didn't want to face their problems in the 50s.
It's just a different level of shit.
Right.
I think it was wonderful for the people that were pushed forward and center, like the white, that whole group, the white post-war house car, and everybody else.
The parents of the baby boomers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the same is true of Canada. I mean, the thing that is great about Canada is which I always liked, is culturally it was very receptive to other things coming in. It wasn't like, and that's what was so confusing. America was all about the melting pot. Like, you disappeared and you became an American. And who happened to make spaghetti on Saturday night? But we still have our pasta. But in Canada, it was still very much this kind of food, this kind of clothes, this language. And that's the thing I do enjoy about Canada still. I do enjoy that it feels more multicultural.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's their sense of pride.
But then they get scared.
They're open more. They feel like they're just more open to people of different cultures. And we were taught in school that America is a melting pot.
Right.
Right. But it's so funny because it's like, yes, in America, you can be anyone from anywhere and you can come here and be a white Christian.
Right. As long as you lose all the shit you brought with
that's
you.
right.
Yeah.
We don't care about anything else as long as you do
But
that.
don't you be wearing a dirndl.
Right, yeah.
You leave that shit at the door.
So now it is a crazy period of change. And I forget what I was watching just the other day that was not antiquated at all. And I was like, oh, couldn't do that. Oh,
yeah.
Right.
And I don't, by the way,
like 5 years old.
Yeah. But I don't say that in a negative way.
No.
I was just like, no, I am aware that culture is changing.
Yeah.
That's how it works. I have terrible news for you.
I really do have this funny feeling, and I might be way off the mark here, but I really believe that you couldn't make Mother Jugs and Speed.
I think that today,
I don't think so. Jugs.
I'm pretty confident.
I think that would test weird.
Yeah, I don't think you could have slavery today.
I don't think so. Unless it was women. That'd be okay.
Unless it was women.
That's fine.
That's right.
Nobody cares.
But it wasn't even like, it was like a Marvel movie or something, but I was like, no.
And it's like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's gone. Can't do that now.
Yeah.
I know.
It's just but again, it's good. And, whenever you see, and it's sad because comedians are known for being
honest.
And but the people that call out that are on the forefront of change,
right? Yeah,
the shit everybody's thinking that doesn't say out loud.
Yeah,
right.
But there's so much conservatism now in comedy. It's like it's basically like, I'm afraid of change is really the subtext of everything that you're saying. I don't like this. No, you don't. You don't like it because you don't understand it,
right?
And you don't understand it because you're not open to listening, and you're afraid of something that you don't agree with. Well. Tough.
It is the weirdest time to be a comedian.
It is
right now, especially a stand-up. I mean,
or an improviser,
because the stuff you used to draw on was you have to push it. You have to push that envelope to get a laugh and make people a little uncomfortable, so they laugh. Right? Oh, that's terrible what he said, but hilarious. But all that stuff is kind of off the table now.
It's hard. It's tricky. I mean, I'll be doing it in a couple of hours, but it's tricky. But
like with Dr. Z though, you've found this kind of area where you kind of can live in that world a little bit.
Well, we did.
Right.
You know?
It's like you can live there for that 15 minutes.
Yeah, what I like about, again, it's inside baseball, and we're talking about the hilarious and legendary Hang with Dr. Z available on YouTube.
Yeah.
It exists completely in its own little world. And I was always people like, who do you like comedically? Like, I don't like comedians that do what I do, because I do that. If I watch it, it's just going to give me anxiety.
Right.
Yeah. But I love like Paul Rubens. I was always just in awe of, like, anybody that had a completely separate character from who they were, that lived in this totally defined little universe.
Right.
Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, that to me was the super cool thing. And then you do that, and then you can just be yourself.
Yeah.
And
they were always my favorites too. Foster Brooks, for example, was as a kid, I didn't laugh harder than I would laugh at Foster Brooks.
Right.
He was
I
the
cried.
greatest thing I'd ever seen when he came out as the airline pilot,
Oh, it's brilliant.
That's right.
with a glass in his hand.
Yeah.
It was genius.
And again, another thing, I don't think you could do Foster Brooks today.
No, you would you'd make all the
could.
alcoholics really angry.
Someone
he's one you
said that they were asked, somebody on a podcast said, "Oh, that's crazy." And they said, "Yeah, can you cut me saying that?"
But to we don't
say
offend the
it's
crazy
The term
people?
crazy, yeah.
Oh.
That might be the hill I die on.
It's true.
You gotta
it's
find new
true.
words then.
Yeah.
That's Gleep-glorp.
Yeah, Gleep-glorp.
That is totally
That works.
Glorp. That guy's Glorp.
Right.
Stay away.
Yeah, but it will also go back. I mean, it's
Has to.
like it
Right.
It's like the extreme of 1970, 71 of the counterculture in 1971. Yeah, it went back. Then the 80s happened, and people.
Right.
It's not a perfect.
We're in a period of reaction to something, remember they got rid of alcohol for a while. They even did that.
Yeah.
So that really happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, really
They
happened.
really made it illegal to have a drink.
yeah. I think a lot of
So-
it is
The comedy must have all been about having a drink.
All of it.
Must have just.
this could be really wrong.
I'm ready.
I think a lot of it was Trump getting elected and people just thinking, oh, if he's gonna be the president, it's him and nobody else. Like, he could say anything, it doesn't matter. Right, just him,
Right.
not you.
Right.
How many of his buddies went down in flames because they thought they could get away with everything that he did?
Right.
Right.
But he
I
was
don't know.
he was the emperor that could make all the jokes.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it is.
And do all the things.
Yeah.
He could do
was
anything and say
untouchable.
anything. It's the weirdest thing. I still can't believe it really happened.
It's so funny. I was watching a documentary about the Smothers Brothers, and when they used to run Pat Paulson for president.
Yeah.
And in a way, it was like that. Like, if I was of voting age in 1968, I would have been like, yeah, Pat Paulson, because he was also making fun of the system from within.
Yeah.
But he was benign.
Right.
Trump is toxic.
In Canada, I never even thought about politics. Not for a minute. Like, it wasn't even a thing. It wasn't even, I didn't care who the prime minister was. I didn't care what parties or anything. And it wasn't until they ruined everything recently that I ever gave a shit.
Yeah.
Really. That I thought it affected me. I think it doesn't matter who's in there. They're all the same. But
you were
turned out
young, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
You
not
know,
supposed to
I think
care
when
about it
you're
that
young,
much in your
but
20s.
you weren't young
I was
enough.
just 40.
And a lot of it is here. It's like, I have to keep reminding people, most people don't know what Twitter is.
You think?
They know it's a thing.
Yeah.
They don't
you don't think
really
they
know
use it?
what it is.
Yeah. I don't
No,
use it.
I think 20% of the population is on it. Of that percentage, like 7% uses it. 0.4% is responsible for 90% of the tweets.
Right.
It's a very small echo chamber. that has no bearing on the world at all. And I just know that going in. Like you could have a terrible day on Twitter and you go out of your house and it really never happened.
Right. But for some people, it seems
unless you're a
that
celebrity.
Yeah. Well, it moves off. If you do something that moves off, Twitter,
Yeah. I mean, I think of the time before all this connection that we have, and I remember being excited about things like the Academy Awards because you never got to see movie stars.
Yeah.
No, or missing people. Remember
it's
missing
like,
people?
oh, wow, there's Jack Nicholson.
Right.
Right.
And now it's like, I don't want to see him having breakfast.
The internet, it's sort of like, we gave a monkey a flamethrower and look what happened. It's like, just like,
are you shocked?
Not every technology, not every advance is completely great. There's so much about it that's great, but there's also a lot about it. Nothing's free.
But it's that thing at 2 a.m. if you're out like on Instagram and you look at a video that pops up and you look at it for more than 2 seconds, you will forever get videos like that video. So I keep getting this woman who's eating fruit with her monkey. And all I see, and then I can't stop watching it because she just eats, and it's just them eating, and the monkey's eating, and then he looks at her, and she looks at him, and they share their watermelon, and like Paul was looking at it with me last night, and he said he's going to rip her face off. Like you just know.
It's only a matter of time.
It's just going to happen.
It's
while
just a bad
she's filming
scene.
it.
Yeah.
Getting ready. You can feel the monkey's rage.
But who am I that I'm doing that at 2 a.m?
Yeah, I like just to watch anacondas eating things.
I never get
a car battery.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. I look at cats a lot. A lot of cats, and it just cats that just don't do anything.
Here's something apropos of nothing. Our cat George, I'm pretty sure he can read and write.
It's like Planet of the Apes. It's like the new Planet of the Apes.
He pees in our bathroom sink.
What?
That's where he pees.
How did you find out?
I walked in on him.
Oh. You mean he didn't close the door even?
Nope. His hind legs are in the sink. It's a little, his and hers bathroom sink.
Right.
His hind legs are in the sink. His front paws are out. Yeah. Front paws are out. And he's just standing there. And what are you doing? And he didn't move. And I walked around, sure shooting.
At least you didn't.
Peeing in the sink.
At least you didn't find out while you were brushing your teeth.
True.
That would be bad.
But then, he left. And I said to Cat with a K, not.
Right. She doesn't pee in the sink, though.
Gentlemen never tell.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, George was peeing in the sink. And she was like, oh, no. And then we thought, oh, no, or oh, great.
Right.
It could be
great.
good. You run some water and it's just like flushing the toilet.
You just have to run water.
Yeah. Put a little Dawn in there.
Or not go on holiday.
But,
little Dawn.
Dawn.
Yeah.
But
takes it right out. Takes
but that could be a
uric
good
acid right out of there.
It could be a good thing.
I think it seems very hygienic in some ways, as opposed to a box.
He had a problem
under the.
Yeah, he had a problem. He had crystals.
Male cat
in his in his wee. Took him to the vet. They gave him meds. I asked, "Does this dissolve the crystals?" And they said no, but it will loosen his urethra, so it doesn't hurt when he pees. And again, where was that great moment in science? Like some guy, I was halfway through curing cancer and the cat took a pee. It sounded like a kazoo and I got to thinking. I was up all night, but I think I cracked it.
Wow. Where does he poop?
In the
pillowcases.
What if he starts
in my stationery drawer?
Pooping in the sink?
Yeah, no, then he goes away.
There was a product that used to
George.
teach cats to use the regular toilet that was out of many years ago. Which was, it starts with a litter box that you hang in the toilet, then you eventually remove it, including how to teach them how to flush, which was an extra handle. And, I use it for me.
Sure.
But it would probably work for a cat too.
See, I think if the cat started to use the toilet, I would just naturally, because I'm contrarian, start using a litter box.
Yeah.
That's right. As long as you can't cover it, I think it's all good, right?
It was. I didn't know what to make of it, but it was quite. Can you guys have
two
yeah.
cats? Yeah.
I'm envious of you. God, I'm envious.
Greenberg.
Of you.
took our last names.
You have 14 cats, right?
Yeah, I live in a zoo. I live
Yeah,
in a,
you have a lot of
zoo.
cats. You
And
have a lot of
dogs.
cats. Yeah. Yeah. And iguanas.
Four
and,
cats, 3 dogs, 3 kids. Yeah.
4
a lot.
cats, 3 dogs.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Lot of poop, buddy.
Don't replace them.
No.
Yeah,
That's
right.
what happens.
That's, you keep
them.
replacing
Yeah,
them when
yeah,
they
yeah.
croak.
Yeah. Now we're literally like, okay, who's going to die next? Who's first?
Right. Who are
Yeah.
we putting down?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've gone through a few dead cats
lot of
in
dead
our
cats.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be 10 years, but we've got to let nature take its course.
Yeah.
I can't do like a controlled burn.
No.
Right.
No, it's such a thing, though. It's such a, want to have lunch? I have to take my cat for chemo. It's so,
Yeah.
That's very LA.
it's very
Yeah,
LA.
no,
Is
I
it just
don't-
LA, do you
I think
think?
so.
I think it's
I don't know if,
I don't know
yeah,
what it
I
is.
think at that point it would just be like, oh,
You ever had a cat had chemo?
I-
A dog with chemo?
I had
Or
a
radiation?
dog. I had a 13 or how old was she? God, she might have been 14 when
Oh,
it
no.
happened. Had a brain tumor
Oh, Jesus.
and had brain surgery.
Had
Yeah,
brain surgery. At 14.
Yeah, Bella. She was either, I think she was 12 and lived to 14.
Oh, God. Did they have
Survived the
did
brain
she
She was
have-
12.
Did she have to learn to bark again,
No, it was
like in the movies?
It was like regarding Henry. She was a much nicer
Right.
dog.
Oh, wow. So she didn't know she was an
a much
asshole
nicer dog.
before.
Yeah, right,
Aw,
exactly.
So she hung out
Wow.
with you guys for the first time.
So that his
and wasn't
his-
having an
so
affair.
his wife was really
Sorry.
happy about the
Right.
brain injury.
Uh-huh. And the daughter.
It was very strange.
Talk like that, really slow.
Regarding Rover,
That's your
Regarding
most
Bella.
hated movie, I think, regarding
Henry, yeah.
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 Whereas I could watch that on
Yeah.
a loop.
If I could
That was a
shoot
movie that Mike
spitballs
Nichols
at the screen,
made
I would.
while doing something else. But no, it was weird. She had a
It's that
seizure.
way.
She had a seizure. I took her to the vet, and the vet said, like, okay, here's the deal. They did a bunch of tests. She has a brain tumor, and I immediately looked like, oh no. And literally the doctor went, but. She goes,
Hilarious.
Dana, it's right on the top, like a cherry on a sundae.
No.
And I'm just going to lift off
Her
the
skull?
What?
And I'm going to flick it off
What?
and put it back on.
Like Frankendog?
They did it. Yeah. They didn't lift it off. They they cut a little.
Cut
They
her
cut
head
no, they have
open.
to cut
Yeah.
the skull.
Yeah, they
we
do.
remember we used to watch infant brain surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was,
they,
was our
the
favorite.
Learning
you
Channel.
watched what?
Yeah.
Infant brain
learning-
surgery.
Wait,
It was before we had a
Stop.
kid.
We're
That's
talking
called
like
burying
early.
the lead.
No.
Stop.
Well, not live. We didn't watch it live.
No.
You
In
watched.
TV
Canada.
show.
There was a TV show in Canada called Infant Brain
Well,
Surgery.
it wasn't.
It
It
was
was
called
a show. It was the
surgery.
learning. The beginning of the Learning Channel in Canada just showed a show called The Operation, which
Yeah.
took you into operating rooms.
And they showed everything.
and they say
The
spinal
peeling back.
surgery,
The
infant
stapling
brain
of the
surgery,
face.
new face. You know, it was like terrifying.
and we watched them
And we
take a
would
cap
watch.
off
We would
of
just sit
babies.
and eat popcorn and watch
They'd
this.
peel a face back.
Here's how I know
Fantastic.
it was a long time ago, because it was the Learning Channel and there were actually educational
Yes,
shows
they're actually
on
learning
it.
something.
Now,
Yes.
if you turn on the Learning Channel, it's hillbillies catching bass with their bare hands. Like the History Channel is just the History Channel was the first 2 years of the History Channel
amazing.
was great. Now
No,
it's
incredible.
what people in the Klan do during the day. It's just like it's just like
There are no
hillbill-
learning channels
No.
anymore.
No,
They're all
everything
gone.
goes to the lowest common denominator. Everybody goes to people in unkempt
You
beards.
just know they had that meeting.
fishing with
Did you
their
see
hands.
these ratings when we showed them? You know,
Yeah,
them
Hillbillies?
making duck calls.
Yeah.
This hillbilly family
or Pawn Star. Yeah, it's all just Pawn Stars and
porters.
Yeah,
Trucks across
Everything is-
ice, which I watch and get
Ice
really
road
freaked
truckers,
out.
yeah.
Ice Road Truckers.
all of it.
Anything that takes place in Alaska, my dad will watch.
Mining hillbillies, mining for gold.
Yeah.
with their bare hands.
Hillbilly eBay battle. You know, just
Let's see what's in that.
Yep.
yeah. Anybody
Open
in
up that
camo.
door.
Anybody in camo.
Storage supply.
I love
wars.
that.
Yeah.
That I can totally.
wars?
What do you see in the storage? I don't know. There's bins. Oh my God, it's all
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes gear.
Oh, imagine this is a storage.
Could you
yeah.
imagine?
Imagine this place.
There's going to be one. It's full of hands. It's just hands.
Eyeballs.
I'll take it.
Children's shoes and clown makeup.
$2,000.
Yeah.
I would bid on that.
Well, that was the appeal of let's make a deal. Here's a box. Do you want to see what's inside it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's human nature. Yeah. Here's a storage facility. But I'm convinced that in every storage facility, there is at least one corpse.
Absolutely.
Right?
I don't think people ask questions at those places.
They found one not too long ago.
Really?
Like a murder was solved, a corpse, and a guy bought it, opened it up. You know, it was like plastic, duct taped. It was
they were
it was
serious.
So many layers of, and then he goes, I started to cut in, and it was so overly wrapped that it just looked like a burrito. And he was maybe it was a surfboard.
Was it just bones in there at the end, or was it
He goes, I started cutting, got a couple layers down, and I started to smell. 911.
Whoa.
And they caught the guy. The guy was in like Taiwan. They caught him, and
Because he had kept it in the storage unit.
Because he kept paying. Because
How do
he
you
forgot
not-
to pay the
how do you not think
pay
you're
the
gonna-
amount.
no, he was left the
Stop paying.
country, and he thought I'm out, and he didn't realize.
Oh my god!
You better pay that
That
bill.
he used his credit card.
We had a storage facility in Canada for 3 years when we moved here. We paid $65 a month. And then one day we were finally rich enough to ship our stuff. We said, let's send our stuff. And we got it. We went, what the fuck?
What the fuck is all this stuff?
Yeah, and you go through it, and you kept like 3 things:
Princess Diana books.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
I did keep one of those.
lampshades.
No, it's crazy what you store. And then you go, why? Although it's different.
No, I have a terrible problem.
You have an issue.
3
I have an
copies
issue.
of Hollywood Husbands. I mean, it was like that.
I have a lot of stuff, but I
One
don't.
was signed Jackie Collins.
I have a lot of stuff, but I'm psychotic about organization.
This place is immaculate.
No, but that's what's
I just got to
great.
tell you.
Yeah, like
feel
to
like
me,
I
it's
can't
like
argue
I
with
feel like
that.
I'm in the world's best vintage store right now.
yeah. Well, was the goal.
It's
It has
incredible.
one theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was literally just like,
two.
I just want, but it's like, to me, it's like, it's not clutter. If it's like, no, this is a magazine box and this is labeled and it's on a shelf.
Yes, it's organizes in your brain. You
Yeah.
know where to find everything. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
looking around here. I mean, there's
And I do use a lot of this stuff.
I know you
Yeah.
do. And your hobby is really coming along too. You're a good painter.
I just sit,
You're really good.
sit
Nice,
with
it's
my,
calm.
sit with my thoughts.
When did you start? When did you do your first model? As a child?
As a child. Yeah, as a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have
doing those.
Did you have the glow in the dark? What was the game that was a glow in the dark with the little furry monsters and you spun the thing?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that game?
Well, there was the Green Ghost.
That's the one.
The Green Ghost,
Green
and there was
Ghost.
also
The Green Ghost.
and there was also Creepy Crawlers.
I had creepy
Creepy
crawlers
crawlers.
with the
and
oven
the thing,
that came in the oven.
as Tom Kenny said about Creepy Crawlers, a great toy. You know, nothing safer for the kids than something that you plug into an outlet and boil plastic in.
And burn.
You know, I would beg for all the KTEL stuff that would come on TV.
Sure.
Sometimes it would happen. And I got the one that turned stubby beer bottles into glasses.
Sure, yeah.
I had
You
that
cut beer
one.
bottles, yeah.
And it was like you
How do you
cut it,
not cut your
cut
lips
around
off?
it,
You always
right?
do.
And then you take a tapper and tap it. And we never had one glass. The thing would just shatter every time we try it.
My dad would make them. He did really well, but you'd always cut
Then
your
you
lip.
have to sand
No,
the
you cut your
top,
lip. You
so
always
you
cut
don't
your lip.
cut your face
He
open
also
when you
used to
drink.
take sandwich bags, Wonder Bread bags, and melt them onto bottles, and they'd be vases.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Do you remember
in
the
prison.
Popeil's Pocket Fisherman?
Yes.
Yeah. I had mini skis. Do you remember those?
Super sweater snow skates.
I had those too. I had
sweater-
mini
See,
skis.
those
you have
those
those?
sound like
Super sweater snow
Super
Canada
sweater snow
only.
skates.
Yeah, the Super Slider snow skates. All those were just a piece of vinyl you tied onto
You
your
tied
foot.
onto your shoes, your boots, your winter boots.
2 red pieces of vinyl.
Yeah.
Super
Or
Slider
blue.
snow
Yeah,
skates?
like
Yeah.
plastic vinyl, and then there'd be no traction on them, so you just spin around and fall.
Why? If you got
That
no
sounds
way.
very Canadian.
very.
That
But the
sounds
mini skis were blue, and they were about a foot long, and they barely worked. And
Yeah.
you also tied them onto your shoes.
Yeah, everything was tied onto your shoes.
And the O.J. Simpson, the Joe Namath
I want the
hamburger
O.J. Simpson
maker.
one.
The
Patty,
O.J.
Patty
Simpson.
Stacker? No.
Yeah, when there was like a
The O.J. Simpson knife set.
It was the O.J. Simpson was, instead of cutting beer bottles, you do an incision around the neck and you cut all the way around the neck, and then you tap it off and
Sand it down.
melt a plastic bag on it, and you have a vase.
Oh. Oh, shiver me timbers.
You know, it's so funny. People ask me what I'm up to as soon as we wrap here.
Yeah.
I'm going out to search for the real killer. That's sort of like what I always have that to fall back
Yeah.
on.
True.
I never have nothing to do.
You're never going to be bored.
If you live in LA, you never have nothing to do.
That's
No.
right.
You can always look for the real killer.
Well, you found half of the Black Dahlia.
I like looking for people's houses. I like finding houses and things. Like I always remember Liberace's Sherman Oaks house with the keyboard
Sure, of
pool?
course I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan Stiles lived there for a while.
Oh, did he?
Had that house.
Had a piano-shaped pool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't
There's
think
a-
he had the keys painted.
There's an abandoned military base
Yes.
up here that is now the home of Jared Leto. And it used to be
an abandoned military base.
It used to be a military base where they would develop spy satellite footage.
Whoa.
They wanted it in LA close to the big they wanted the military had a base because they would also have movie stars would narrate instructional films for the army. So
Wow.
they had a production facility right here. It was called Going Up to the Mountain. It's right up here someplace.
Yeah, I remember.
And,
I remember Wally Cox taught me how to shoot an M16.
Mrs. Marlon Brando.
That's right. That's right.
Mrs. Marlon Brando.
But yeah, and now I think, I don't know if the buildings are still there, but I know Jared Leto lives on the thing.
Wow.
He also has his own cult, doesn't he?
Definitely.
He has the hair of someone who might have their
Yeah.
own cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The clothes.
Yeah. He's one of those guys who never knows when to stop acting.
Jordan Catalano. Is that it? Was that his
Yeah.
last name? Jordan Catalano? Cataluna?
Catalano. Yeah. That was his
On that show.
That was his debut.
That's his real
Yeah.
name?
That was
No,
the
he's a
character's
character he
name.
played that all the
with
girls
Claire,
went crazy on him.
What's her face on the
Friday
TV
Night Lights.
show?
No.
Oh, there's a good game.
My favorite life.
My So-Called
My
Life?
So-Called
Yes.
Life.
Was that where he came from?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's where he
Yeah.
came from.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Oh.
Well, you know.
There you go.
So he's legit. That
Yeah.
makes him legit.
Well, there is that thing. It's not true all the time, but it's true
it's not
often
true.
that a lot of times really great actors are crazy people.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's the thing that, or as someone said about Brian Wilson, professional musician, amateur human being. This was in the 60s. I don't know. He's probably done a lot better, but a lot of that unfettered id that makes people insufferable as human beings makes them brilliant actors.
yeah, I can
Or
see that.
actresses.
They just can really disappear into something.
Yeah, and they
because
just have like there's no filters.
because they also have no personality of their own.
Yeah, and this isn't everybody,
No.
you know, but there's a lot of people that just like, oh my God, he's amazing. And then you talk to them and you're like, oh, you're insane.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that they're just, and I think
But probably true of probably true in
Other-
you know,
other-
yeah, and telescope
businesses?
construction. Like, I'm sure the
right.
really good telescope designers are out of their fucking minds.
like it's a narcissistic belief in yourself and focus.
Yes, and well, they always say he's got it. She's got it. Boy, the
Yeah.
camera loves them. And
Mental
I'm wondering,
illness.
I'm wondering if that thing that the camera sees is their unbridled self-regard.
Yeah, and desperation. There's also a quality of, and I say this even as myself, and we were just talking about this, the youngest child syndrome, the sort of need to express yourself or to say I'm here,
heard, yeah.
to be heard, to be present. Like that's a thing too, I think. Is
Yeah,
very
I think
much.
I'm watching a Kurt Vonnegut documentary, which is really good. It took a guy 40 years to make this documentary. He started when he was 20 years old, and now he's 60.
Wow.
And-
Wow. Because it's a flip book.
Yeah,
He should have
right.
just
Yeah.
made a
Should've
movie.
just
Yeah,
made it.
he drew it. He's a very
the
slow
drawings
drawer.
took
It's a
long
series of
time.
flip
Yeah.
books.
With a little leg moving, a little.
But his quote in the thing, it was great, was he says, you know, if you're the youngest child, you're going to be a comedian because it's the only way you're going to be heard.
Oh, wow.
He says it's because they're ignored. When you're the youngest, you're ignored, and the only way to get any attention is to be funny.
Yeah. Well, I
I wonder
can't.
if that's true about killers too. If they sort of are
Mm.
the youngest to sort of say, "Look, I'm here. I killed somebody."
But they'd want to be quiet about it generally.
I don't
Killing
know.
people.
Maybe not. Maybe that's why they get caught. They're like, "Look, I killed somebody. See,
I don't think
see
they
what
don't
I
usually
did."
say that.
They go, "Look
hey,
what
look,
I
killed
did.
somebody."
Hey, I killed somebody."
Oh, maybe.
Well, you've worked on the Oscars, right?
Yes.
Have you worked on the Oscars?
I have not.
But you've been there, Paul.
I've been there.
Yeah, you've been there with him.
Yeah.
And you guys are friends with, not to mention any names,
All the
huge
people.
stars. People that are household names.
We
You're
know
friends
some,
with them.
Yes.
But did you ever, like, at the Oscars, did you ever encounter people that were like, oof? I was at the Emmy Awards that Sharon Stone spoke at.
Yeah.
And she said, God talks to me.
Uh-oh.
And everybody laughed. And then we realized she's not joking.
She's serious.
Oh.
Yeah, she was not joking.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was just like, oh no, bananas. You're bananas.
Yeah.
Bananas.
Yeah.
I think you said it before. I think the really great actors have a disconnect, a disconnection with actual human. I mean, I think they go somewhere and they believe what they're doing.
But then there are other,
and they believe it's important.
I mean, I only know people that I know, but it's just like, I've met very famous actresses and actors that are completely normal.
Right.
Us too.
Yeah.
We know people who have experienced the absolute A-list fame.
Yeah.
And some of them did not handle it well. And some of them, it was just like a job.
Right.
Yeah.
Go home.
Like
Done
it
for
wasn't
the day.
a rule that they're all these crazy people. And some of them are just really hard workers. And then some of them are inspired, mad scientists about it. So, but, it's funny though, after knowing some people, it's a crazy world to be in, that famous and that thing.
We met.
I'm not surprised Sharon Stone is crazy after being so famous.
Yeah. And it's like, was she always crazy or did that make her crazy?
Right.
Right.
Because, we all met, I believe, Paul McCartney on the same day.
That's right. Greatest day.
The day he broke into my home, and I called you guys over to help me get him
And
out.
You
we
shot
said
him,
no.
but we tied his
Stop
leg
it.
up so the artery wouldn't, I
don't think he lives far from here either, by the way.
Well, I know he
Apparently
shops
he
at
shops
Ralph's.
at the Ralph's.
He shops at the Ralph's.
Ralph's down on
he shops at the Ralph's on
We
Ventura.
call it Paul
and-
McCartney Ralph's.
Paul McCartney Ralph's.
So you met Paul before?
I did.
When did you meet Paul?
I met Paul. I was doing an episode of Fat Actress. Remember with
Yes.
what's her name?
Kirstie Alley.
Right.
Kirstie Alley.
Kirstie.
Kirstie.
Kirsty?
Kirstie.
Kirsty?
Kirstie, right?
Kirstie
I
Alley.
don't know.
Kirsty.
She's
Kirstie Alley.
Crispin.
Covered
Bonkers.
I think it's
in
Crispin
invisible
Alley.
robots,
Right.
from what I understand.
She has all the
She's
Xenons.
groaning with
Yeah,
invisible
she's
robots.
amazing. Spectacular. Lovely lady.
Sure. Good.
Shooting an episode of her show in Van Nuys at one of those
God's country.
deep though. No, not even like deep valley somewhere. Maybe Sun Valley. I don't know. One of those places. And I got there and had my wardrobe, went into my dressing room and waited, to be called to go to set. And so I'm just laying there chilling out and I hear like an EP of the Beatles of like 5 songs again and again. And they're really good. They're like, back in the USSR. And I'm like, oh, I know that song. And it's going on and it's going on. And I'm like, it's really loud. Who's listening to this? So I go into the hallway and I look and I see a crew guy from Fat Actress with another crew guy. And he's leaning his ear against this big door and he's crying. And I look at him and I shake my head like, no. And he goes, yes. And I walk over and it's the rehearsal room. And Paul McCartney is in a studio.
Doing a sound check.
Doing a full rehearsal.
Rehearsing for his
Full
tour?
rehearsal. So you
Full
could
band.
hear, we don't know, but it's like 4 or 5 songs. He's doing Hey Jude. It's insane and beautiful. And we're all just, this is crazy. So then it becomes the thing, right?
Sure.
And we go, and then we're filming, and it's, did you know, I'm Paul McCartney, and it's so crazy, and he's next door, and Kirstie Alley's like, oh my God, and I'm like, you should go talk to him. She's like, I can't, it's Paul McCartney. Like everyone's losing their shit. And then we go outside for a break, and there's no one. It's the studio. There's literally like,
Yeah, you're in Sun Valley.
10 of us. Yeah,
exactly.
There's 10 of us standing outside.
It's you and people that
yeah.
have like drove past the porn shoot.
Right,
Like, no,
that's it.
you got to go
That's
back
it.
in.
You missed it again.
You got to get closer to town.
And no
ticket to the porn
no
shoot.
one is using this sound stage.
Yeah.
Like no one. So we're standing outside, and there's maybe 10 of us, and then all of a sudden we see Paul walk out with his band. It's just him and like 3 guys maybe. And they're just standing and they're chatting, and we're all like, oh my God, and we can't do anything. We can't say anything. And I say to myself, because of what's his face, Milton Berle. I saw Milton Berle once on the street and wanted to say something to him and didn't. And I was like, I don't want to be rude to him.
Yeah.
But he kind of looked at us as we walked by, and I sort of felt like we could have at least, said, oh, hello.
Yeah.
And we didn't. And then he was dead 10 days later.
That's always a tricky one. Like, how do you
it's
do
weird.
it?
Yeah.
And you
Some
know,
navigation.
and you don't,
I think
it is a skill. It's like a thing of knowing
When
it's
when
the
not
door.
to go in.
And I said to myself,
and how to go in.
how to go in, and should you or would you?
Yeah.
And so my thing was, this is Paul McCartney. So if the door is opened to me, then I will go in.
Right.
I will say something, but only if it's clear to me that it's receptive. So I'm standing outside. My wardrobe is black leather pants. I have a harness because I'm suspended, and I'm doing a thing from the ceiling. And I have a fur hat on that has a Canadian flag because I'm playing this Canadian angel. So it's Charlie's Angels bit. So I'm standing there, and he's talking to his friends, and he's about 20 feet away from me. And as he's talking to his friends, he turns and he looks at my hat and he looks at me and he makes kind of a little like, what's that? So he's looking at me. He's making direct eye contact. So I walk over and I go, oh, hello. And he goes, oh, hello. What are you doing? And I tell him, oh, we're filming this thing. And, it's lots of fun. He's asking me about stuff. And I say, that's what it is. And I said, well, what are you doing? He said, oh, yeah, me and the lads were rehearsing. My wife's got this benefit. And I go, oh, that's really cool. And he goes, he holds out his hand. I hold out my hand and I say, I'm Jackie. And he goes, hello. And I said, and you are?
Perfect.
He lost his shit to such a degree. It was like he instantly, he instantly fell in love. So I said, if the window opens, I'm going to go. And then he's looking at me, and I see that he's made eye contact with me. He's looking at my hat with the flag, and I go, that's my window. I'm going to go. I'm going to do it. So I walk over, and I go, hey. And he goes, hey, what are you doing? And I said, oh, working on this thing, fat actress. He goes, oh, that's fun. That's nice. And I said, what are you doing? Oh, rehearsing with my mates. We've got this show, and in bad accent, doing this thing. And I go, oh, that's fun. And he goes, and you are? And I said, oh, hi. Oh, my name's Jackie. And I said, and you are? And then it's like the world stopped, and he looked at me, and he started laughing, and he turned into a different guy. He went from sort of being nice to me to fucking loving life. And then he was like, oh, my name's Tom. And I said, oh, hey, Tom. Nice to meet you.
Oh, that's
So what do
great.
you do? And he said, yeah, I've got a band. I said, you guys sound pretty good. I mean, you're not great, but you sound pretty good. He's like, oh, thanks. And I said, you should try doing that for a living. And he was just all over it.
Oh, that's
and then I
great.
did the perfect thing that anybody who's ever dealt with celebrities knows. You got to get out.
Gotta get out.
You can't assume that because they're being nice to you.
Yeah.
You're their best
So
friend.
we're best friends
So
now.
we're best friends now. So exactly. So I said, well, Tom, you know what? Just keep doing it. You sound really, really good. And we'll be listening, and I got to go. And he's like, okay,
Fantastic.
bye. And then he stayed outside. I went back to my little group. And then this is why Paul McCartney is incredible. He knew that everybody was losing their shit, that
Right.
a Beatle was standing there, and we're all just outside in this parking lot. So he went back inside, but before he did, he said, bye, everyone, to them all. And then as he said it, he made eye contact with every person. So they knew they had a valid,
Little moment.
I met Paul, I
Right.
had a connection with Paul McCartney. So he did that, and he went, bye, everyone. And he walked inside, and then he came back out and he went, bye, Jackie. And I went, yeah, Tom, you know what? I'm busy. And he died, and he went in laughing. And I knew that
Oh my God, that's like the perfect.
It is.
it was
That's
an
like the perfect
amazing.
comedian. Yeah.
And then he was so
I
mad at me.
lost
He
my
was
mind.
mad.
Sure.
I was like, I'm like a Beatle fanatic.
And I was holding the phone up.
She was
to
holding the phone
wall.
up to the door so I could hear them playing. And I was like losing my
And he was like,
shit.
I gotta come. And I was like, I'm a day player on it. I can't.
I was like, I'm coming over. And I just, of course I couldn't. And it was like,
I
was
met
so upset.
Cher behind the donut time at Santa Monica and Western.
you sure it was Cher?
Her
Did
cock.
it just look like Cher?
Her cock is huge.
Gotcha.
No, we
Love her.
but you talked. See, we met him at the same day at
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Yes.
I stood as close to him as I am standing to you.
Yeah.
And the door never,
No.
It didn't happen.
he was standing there
Yeah.
talking, and
I
we
know.
kind of glanced, and I was like, but I was like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I was just like, and I like to think that in his mind, he thought for a millisecond,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thanks.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Hey.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
No.
But he approached you, right?
Oh, no,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was, because I was on Jimmy Kimmel, because the night before I had done the Emmys, a bit on the Emmys, where I was...
Oscars. No? Emmys? Emmys.
Where it was, I pretended to get caught on camera behind Neil, where Neil Patrick Harris
Right.
was hosting, and we came back, we were about to go to commercial, and I did a sidestep off camera very slowly, pretending I couldn't be seen.
Right.
And it was supposed to be a joke. A lot of people thought it was real.
Awkward guy.
And, the first thing, they were like, you're blowing up online. And I look, the first thing I see is, check out this fucking idiot.
Yay. Thanks, Internet.
So it kind of had a moment, and
Right.
then Jimmy Kimmel was like, come and do it behind me during the monologue. So that was why I was there that night.
Perfect.
And they were like, got to tell you, Paul McCartney's on the show tonight. So
Yeah.
everyone was very like
Yo, it was
Yeah.
tense as
freaked out.
shit.
And
Yeah.
he was
Crazy.
doing the concert on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh,
And so
Rod Donovan, yeah.
I did my part. I did it, and it went okay. And then I go and stand in that hallway right outside the doors
Right.
on Jimmy Kimmel. And then a guy runs up the stairs and goes, everybody against the wall. Paul McCartney's coming up the stairs. Stick against the wall. Do not make eye contact. I don't know who he was.
And
He
I
was
will
like
guarantee you that
Yeah.
did not come from
It
Paul
did
McCartney.
not come from Paul
No,
McCartney.
it had
No way.
definitely didn't. It was them just trying to give Paul, because
Yeah.
Paul was coming in to do
Yeah.
his bit. So I'm against the wall with everybody else. He comes bounding up the stairs, and he literally looks on, and he sees me, and he looks me in the eyes, and comes right over to me, and I'm like, "Is this happening? What's
Yeah.
going on?" And he goes, "Hey, I just saw you do your bit. Very funny man. Look, I'm you." And he starts
Oh my God.
Yeah. He starts
doing my
doing it.
bit, going back. Look, I'm you. You know what? I should go play music, and you should do it behind me while I play music. Wouldn't that be funny? And I'm like,
Yes.
I never talked.
And I can be in your band.
He shook my hand. He put his hand out. I shook it. I just kept staring at him like, is this happening? And
Yeah.
then somebody went, Paul, you're on. He went, okay, see you later. And he fucking took
Crazy.
off.
Amazing.
And I was like, what just happened? And,
Yeah, it's surreal.
And I never, it was like a magic moment.
yeah.
And I never talked. I don't
Yeah,
think
there's
I talked. I couldn't speak.
there are under a dozen people
Yeah.
that are at that level
Yeah.
where you just go like,
There's very few.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Like
Right.
who is anyone alive that you would lose your
well,
Or
yeah,
have
yeah,
you.
like I mean, like I wouldn't know what to, like I have met
everybody?
and I've met everybody
Yeah.
and I've had pleasant exchanges with all of my heroes who are alive
Right.
Yeah.
or were alive, like Carlin,
Yeah.
Albert Brooks, like anybody that to me
Roddy
was like
McDowell.
Roddy McDowell, Charlton Heston.
You've even you've worked with Mel Brooks.
Yeah, I worked with Mel and so like it would be somebody like, I mean, Elvis Costello, like meeting Elvis Costello was, for me, it was
Yeah.
very surreal, but even he's mortal.
Right.
Right. He
Like,
is.
Paul
Yeah.
McCartney's like,
no, he's
he's not real.
No.
Yeah, it's like you from
Yeah.
another world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, like, your life is nothing I can even conceive of.
No.
No.
No, you're a Beatle.
Yeah.
And I watch Hard Day's Night over and over because it's the magic moment of the Beatles becoming the Beatles, and it's so perfectly made. And for those guys to stay so normal to each other and so like joking and relaxed, while this insanity, they didn't seem human to me. They seemed like too special all my life. They were too, it was like this magic moment that happened and then was over.
I think if I met Michael Palin, I might.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know I've met Eric Idle a couple of times.
Yeah,
He's
I
the
sat
greatest.
next to him once at a show. It was cool.
And meeting a python is pretty close to like.
Yeah.
But even then, it's no.
My booth at Second City was signed by Graham Chapman. I always thought that was
Yeah,
cool.
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I was.
That was cool.
All right. Okay, this might be close. I was at a big Oscar party, and I look at a guy's house. You know, like a guy who ran an agency. And we're at this party, and I look, and I was like, oh, there's Harrison Ford. 4 feet from me in the buffet line.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yep, that's him. You can see all the way around him.
Right.
And then I literally looked in the other direction just because I didn't want to stare at him. And it was like, oh, and there's George Lucas. Well, I can't look anywhere.
Right.
That's Harrison Ford of Regarding Henry.
Yeah, Regarding Henry fame.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I had
but that was pretty. That was pretty
cool.
impressive. That was pretty impressive.
in the like award show, writing world. You just see everybody, right?
Yeah,
At some point.
that's what I mean.
And I just remember one of my weirdest moments was doing the Tonys at this tiny theater called this smaller theater called the Beacon Theater.
Yeah, I know the Beacon.
And so the backstage was like non-existent. So they kept shoving all the celebrities into this backstage, and I would just sit back there watching, the monitor.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it, and Brooke Shields was on camera, and we had done an opening bit, and she went up her lines. She forgot all her lines. So it was kind of like this big moment.
Right.
And I'm like staring at the
Oh, no.
thing going, God, this can't be happening. And then I hear in my ear, what's going on? What's happening? Like this. And I literally, the place is so small, I turn my head and my nose practically touches Bono, who is with his glasses on.
Yeah.
And all I see is all Bono in my face.
And his hands on your
and
shoulders.
He's going, Brooke Shields forgot her lines? I'm like, yeah. Oh, that's bad. And I just turned back. I had nothing to say.
Yeah.
But it was like those weird.
Was it a Sunday? You could have good. This is the worst Sunday ever.
Yes. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I don't think any
I like
Sunday's
that
ever
our
been worse than
accents
this.
I don't think any Sunday has ever been this bad.
Never.
Yeah. Bloody hell.
He
Bloody
would
hell.
have. If you had said that, I bet he would have laughed. I don't think any Sunday has ever been this bad.
I think
Yeah.
you could say it. I think I was too scared I would shit myself.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Like you two, I'm not a big enough fan of. Like I was like, hey.
And it was the year Spider-Man had imploded on Broadway.
Right,
so
right.
all we had were bad Spider-Man jokes and the whole thing. And he was there. He came.
Really?
Him and Mr. Edge came, and they were
Mr. Edge.
They were.
Did he wear a toque?
amazing sports?
Did Mr. Edge
with all
wear
these
his toque?
jokes?
Were they involved?
Was he
Were they
wearing his
involved in
toque?
that? Were they? Did they write the music for that?
Yes, that was their musical.
Oh, that was theirs. Yeah.
And so it was like this big disaster of a musical.
Yeah, Twyla Tharp or somebody or
It was
somebody.
such a mess.
Yeah, it was one of
nothing
those things
worked.
like a super group.
Susan
You saw it.
Stroman. We saw it.
Did
yeah.
the guy get stuck on the
yeah.
ceiling or
Donnie Wahlberg and his son gave Donovan and I tickets because he's married to Jenny, and we went, and it was very sweet. We met him at the theater, and he went, "There's your seats. Here's ours." I was like, "Great."
Was he in the show?
No, we were all watching the show with the kids, and Donovan, who was very young but still old enough to say, "This is a show where something fucks up every time," and so sure enough. They do a big ballad and they get up and they're singing in Spider-Man and webs and they're up in the thing, him and the girl from the Spider-Man, and then he couldn't get down. Couldn't get down.
Stuck in the top of the theater.
You know, the lights come up, the ladder comes out, and Donovan's like, "See, I told you. I told you." So
Some things just shouldn't be musicals.
No, it's kind of amazing.
Most things.
Most things, yeah. What if it was just what it is? You know, it's like when they did, I think they tried to do King Kong as a musical.
Did they? Probably.
With a giant marionette gorilla. It's like,
Right.
some things are just made for their medium,
Right.
you know?
It's so weird that it's just a money-making machine now with Shrek on Broadway.
Yeah,
I think it's
it's
a
like-
given that you'll have success, that
Yeah.
they'll make a lot of money.
People want to pay $500 a ticket.
Well,
to
everybody
see
wants
a
the
guy in a
producers.
Shrek suit.
Dr. Z, the
Everybody
musical.
wants
What about
to
that?
be the producers.
What about
Dr.
Dr.
Z,
Z,
the
the
musical.
musical? The Lounge Act, and
I already did
Yes.
Planet of the Apes, a musical.
the singers. Mary
Do Dr.
Wilson.
Z.
We're already there, but we were talking about like celebrities and like people that are crazy. Like, Paul McCartney is profoundly sane
Yeah.
for being Paul McCartney. But when you look back, especially if you watch Get Back, like everybody else does, you're like, John Lennon, I don't think he's as sane as Paul McCartney. Like, and if you like read the history later, like, became kind of a tool for a long period of time.
Right.
The dynamic that came out of that documentary was shocking.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah. The roles.
John would free associate when he didn't need to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like his way of communicating was to speak in almost gibberish sometimes.
Yeah, that was not a great time for him in
Right.
terms of his chemistry.
Right.
But it was also, both of those guys were like, they had wives, but they were really married
Yeah.
to each other.
Oh, and you see that too in it.
And they were so young. You realize they were fucking 14
Young.
when they
Yeah.
met. You know?
And they were married to each other, and then they got divorced from each other
Right.
and met these other people.
Right.
And they couldn't really break up the band until they had these other people that they were inordinately attached to.
Right.
It looks like one of them really infantilized themselves, and Paul didn't.
Yeah.
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 and
Paul had a bizarre work ethic that was
Yeah.
amazing to watch.
Yeah. And I think that saves you.
Yes.
Like,
I think so too.
well, I certainly...
You have a
I'm
great
not
work
comparing
ethic.
myself to Paul McCartney.
No, you have a
but I
really
feel like-
good work ethic.
But I'm just like,
I've
I have
always
to keep
compared you to
going.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah, me too.
But no, it's like,
Exact same,
I
too.
have to keep going, or if
your
I
hair.
stop, I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta
I feel
keep
the same way.
Got to keep
Yeah.
making shit.
I feel like I'll lose my mind if I don't.
Well,
Yeah.
there's all these different things going at the same time, and that's what he probably has. That he probably always has different projects going, even though he's Paul McCartney. I don't think he just goes, "I'm going to go on tour and do nothing." You paint your models,
I have 4 things to do when I'm
right?
done this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 that I have to get done today.
Right.
But then I can relax because I feel like I've
But it's
worked.
so
Right.
well earned.
You earn
Yeah,
it.
'cause
I
I've
know.
earned-
It's a
That's
good
the
feeling.
only way you can truly relax is if you've completed
I don't have the
something.
ability. And it's so
Otherwise-
funny because Kat, who is undervalues how hard she works, but also she says like, I'm kind of like a snake. I'll sleep in, then I'll slither into the living room up onto the couch. Then I'll slither on into the kitchen and get something else.
That's a great analogy.
It's like, no, I can't.
I think I'd be
can't.
more of a hamster.
Paul Greenberg, Jackie Harris Greenberg,
Aw.
appearing at the Miramar
Club
in
Montecito.
March
Montecito,
31st.
March 31st. And you can see them on Hanging with Dr. Z on YouTube.
Oui, c'est vrai.
Hanging with DR.Z. We're not done yet.
Other podcasts reach for the sky. Dana Gould bound.
We barely try.
This has been the Dana Gould Hour, brought to you by the Internet. Music by Andy Paley, with Jake Posner behind the board. Produced by Jeff Fox. Graphic design and web production by Spencer Hunt and Segan Friend. Sound editing and post-production by Jalinda Palmer and Joe Napolitano.
Hey, if you like the show, why don't you drop us a line at show@danagould.com. Tom Kenny speaking.
I'm a DJ, I'm a DJ, I'm a person, I'm a person, I'm a singer, I love to sing and DJ. Boom! Peace out, you want me? Peace out. Boom.